Well, there goes the neighborhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome. We are live on this Saturday morning. It is the 18th of September. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. That whistling person is a person who usually gets whistled at. Her name is Joyce. Hello. Hello, wifey Joyce.
I gotta drink my tea.
Isn't it cool that apparently men still whistle at you, which is kind of neat?
I don't think so. I think it's misogynistic.
Is it, well, sexist for sure,
It's
but
a misogynistic, oppressive thing.
how's it? Well, oppressive? Why?
I don't like it.
Okay.
The best thing about me is my brain. It's the 3 pounds of my brain. That's the best
Yeah,
thing.
but when you're walking down the street, men don't notice your brain.
It's disgusting. It's objectification.
Of course, it's
If
objectification.
I say to you, you have a nice woot hoot or doot doot.
Thank
or
you.
Boop, 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 doot doot.
I don't have a. I have a good, nice doot doot. I did one this morning, but I don't have a nice woot woot. No, but I mean, why bother then putting on makeup, getting dressed up nice?
I
So
do it for me. I do it so that I'm happy with the way that I embody myself.
as a woman, as a good-looking female. Joyce is giving me looks that you can't see on camera, like. See, there's nothing I can do with this face. There's nothing I can do with this body per
You
se.
can dye your beard like red, like we heard that movie. Remember he said he dyed his beard red, the guy who did the collage?
Harry Smith, yeah.
Red,
Yeah, no, I don't know if I've ever wanted to be ginger. I don't know how, especially at this age. I could dye my hair purple. What would you see? It's like it's one purple dot, like a strand.
You should do your beard like a different color, like turquoise or something.
Ooh, no.
That would be stylish.
I'm not going to do. On these people, I don't get the thing. And sometimes it's real. Sometimes you get these guys where you know they're 50 or 60 or something, and their beards are like jet black. And I'm like, no. And sometimes that does happen where everything else is gray and the black goes into the beard or vice versa. One of the reasons I keep a beard is that, at least this is the way it worked with my dad. And I've mentioned this on the show before. When he had a beard, and he still had some hair. He was balding like I am. But soon as he had the beard, his hair stopped going gray for a long time.
David, your decorations look so nice with the music.
Why, thank you.
You did a really nice, pretty job.
Thank you very much. So, in other words, his beard would be gray. Or salt
the
pepper.
Picture of your dad you could demonstrate?
Well, that's just a drawing of him. But yeah, I think I've shown pictures of my dad on here. It's a shame I never had him video on here. There's hours.
It
Yeah.
says this live video is moderated.
Okay.
I never got that before.
I don't know what that even
here,
means.
I never got that indication. It says this live video is moderated.
Bye.
Remember to create a safe viewing experience while following our community standards. I don't know what that means. I never
Well,
saw that
it means Facebook is looking over my shoulder. So if I play something that's copyrighted, they'll get on me. If I say actionable things.
I thought it meant they thought you were stop scratching.
Like Trump's election was stolen. I mean, suddenly there's what, hello, what? Which is not true.
Who listens to? You mean there's some human being who listens to everything? No.
Probably thousands. First of all, the FBI is listening to everything. CIA probably for chatter.
I thought you didn't believe that once you took your antipsychotics.
No, come on. You know that everything. If the FBI wants to find out a terrorist, and there's good reason for this.
What was the show with the guy who went to Russia? Remember we saw that show?
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't the spy thing that you watched. It's the other one.
No, it's the one who went to Russia. The boy who went to Russia. He was.
Who let out all the documents?
Yeah.
You know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
The with a P.
El Chapo. It was El Chapo.
Is that El Chapo? No.
No.
But
are you sure?
But okay, Facebook wants to moderate this show. God bless. That means there's more people watching. Instead of the half dozen people who watch this program live on Saturdays, now there's a couple of government agents and a couple of even worse Facebook agents going, okay, what's he going to say?
You know why they're watching? Because you look so nice.
There is no COVID. Pfizer and Moderna got together to create this lie.
Actually, the good part is that the boosters, that there may not be as much call for the boosters.
Well, think about it. Pfizer was saying, yes, you need a booster. yes, this is so important. We got to give boosters to
No,
every
They
American.
all weren't saying yes. It's not like
Pfizer was.
Why
Pfizer
you
was
talking
pushing
like
for
William
it.
Shatner?
Oh, Pfizer was. Meanwhile, and the CDC and I guess the NIH were saying, not so fast. I mean, they were pushing.
I think it was the FDA, honey. That's the one that.
Oh, sorry, maybe, yeah. But the narrative, there's two different narratives going on. And I don't think the CDC or the NIH are saying that a booster would hurt. I think they would say that in an ideal world, where everyone, 90-something% of the population was fully vaxxed, and then come November, December, January, everybody got a booster just to be like extra safe, and that would be okay. But what they're saying is it's much more important that the energies at the time, that the mobilization, and I talked about this last week, the mobilization it takes to get the world vaccinated is more important than people who are really going to be okay without it or might get a little cold without getting the booster, if they even get COVID at all at this point. That's not really as important as finding those other 30%, and in some states, 40, 50, 60% of people who haven't rolled up their sleeves yet, or figuring out a way to get a dose that's just right for children. So that once we get all the children vaxxed, we're really going to be over this thing, even Delta. Not so sure about, I found it 2 days ago, and I wasn't able to find it yesterday again, but there was not a pandemic, a virus thing, zoo-borne, animal-borne, another bat thing. It's always the bats, right? But this bat killed like 12 people in some country. I don't know if it was China, it might have been Guatemala. Back in 2002, they were writing about this in journals. And then it went away, and nobody even thought about it. And it's like Numi virus, or Napudid. Anybody heard about this? There is another virus that's come back.
I've not heard of the Pudit virus.
It's not the Pudat virus, no. But it's apparently back. And they're apparently worried about it. Because it's had human-to-human transition. It's really, really viral and dangerous. It comes from animals going to humans. When humans get it, they give it to each other. And I'm telling you, you'll be hearing about it. It's like Nurid, Nupid, Nupidoopy Di. If you're listening to my voice and you're a reasonably intelligent person, please, text or get me on my Facebook page. Joyce is monitoring that, as is Facebook, and write back to me and say, oh, yeah, I read about that too. Some zoo somewhere has people dying over this brand new thing, except it's brand old because we had a handle on it 20 years ago, and then we don't. Isn't that remarkable? It's like we had a handle on COVID, and then we didn't. We're getting a handle on Delta, presumably. And then it's like, we look at the numbers, and I felt that we've hit the crest. I thought like a month ago that, okay, all the non-vaccinated and the people who are going to get breakthrough infections, we're seeing them, it's going to crest for a little bit and then go down, which is what is happening, but we're staying on that crest.
To get the booster for Mom, I have to have her vaccination, the code of the vaccination, the manufacturer and all that, so...
Yeah, are they saying, what are they saying about 65 years old?
It says immunocompromised, and then I'm looking and she's...
Well, if you're 80 plus, you're immunocompromised. I think that's a fair...
I need her info, like I need all the other stuff, I can't do it, sorry.
Well, yeah, but anywho, so did I mention this is Dave's Gone By? Did I mention that I'm Dave? And did I mention that we have this musical note up here on the wall to let you know that our guest in the neighborhood, we have yet another musician. We've been getting a bunch of them, and it's been great. So in recent months, we've had people like Matthew Sweet and Moshe Denberg and who else? Frank London. A lot of world musicians, a lot of Jewish-oriented composer people. Well, we're kind of staying in that mode for this episode of Dave's Gone By because we're very, very excited to have with us a real, serious musical veteran, not only of, not so much of world music, but more of jazz and pop and rock and roll. He was an early, if not a founding member of the Steve Miller Band. He has also played with and produced such people as Diana Ross, Mose Allison, Van Morrison. The guy's played and worked with the Rolling Stones, right? This guy has played with them. He is also, and they haven't taken out a restraining order against him, no matter how much he plays with them. And not only that, he has composed a lot of his own music, playing his jazz and also jazz-inflected rock over lots and lots of albums, still writing, still composing. He also, a few years ago, wrote a book that he has revised, and the book is called, I do have it, do I have it?
Happy, happy, joy, joy.
I wish it were called Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy, but no, this is Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy for Rabbi Saul, because the book is called There Was a Fire, Jews, Music, and the American Dream. Do you get a better title than that?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, Rabbi Saul basically likes all three. Not so much the American Dream, but certainly Jews and music. Rabbi Saul loves them. So Rabbi Saul is going to have the honor of interviewing and talking to Ben Sidran. Ben Sidran, man, he's in the neighborhood. He's going to be talking with us at about, well, it'll be a bit later in the show. Before we get to Ben Sidran in the neighborhood, we have some of our usual fun stuff to do. Our Greeley Crimes and Old Times segment, where we go into the newspaper of Greeley, Colorado, an actual legit, well, it used to be a daily newspaper. Now it's published in hard copy 4 times a week, though daily's still on the web. But it's the Greeley Trib. And the fun thing about it is they've got, besides this classic headline...
Trees, I heard there's a rumor the trees are killing.
They are. We think of zoophobia. I'll bet the trees are hatching something to kill humans too. Like, what would be like poison oak virus or something like that, or those mushrooms that trees and grass will start fooling us because we spent so many years poisoning the earth that they're going to go, you know what? We're going to start growing mushrooms that look like edible mushrooms, and they no longer are. It's sort of like them we were talking about last week during the quiz, where the shishito Japanese peppers, like you can get 24 shishito peppers, and they all look alike, but 2 or 3 or 4 of them are going to be really spicy, and the rest are just bland and normal and taste like peppers, like green peppers, but there's 4 of them, and until you physically cut them and eat, taste them, you won't know. Imagine if, like, the earth started saying, we're kind of tired of mankind. And the trees and the plants and the mushrooms and the flowers got together and they said, we're going to mess with humans. So we're going to have regular, normal mushrooms that aren't toadstools. And 1 out of every 50 is suddenly going to be deeply toxic to humans. And then eventually humans would catch on after about 2,000 dead. And say, okay, we're not eating mushrooms anymore. There's no more mushrooms. Fine. And that's when the sunflowers get together and say, well, some of our seeds are going to, people are going to eat them. And then once it's in their throat, it's going to open up and spikes will come out and pierce their bodies and they'll die. Eventually, Mother Nature is going to catch up with us. It's bound to happen. Not yet, perhaps. Not yet. So, how did I get... Oh, Greeley Crimes and Old Times, the tree. Yeah. So there are 2 columns in this newspaper that are based on actual, real things. They are phone calls that come into the police department in Weld County, Colorado. And people are calling saying, oh my God, this weird thing is happening in my neighborhood. And sometimes it is a very weird thing happening, but they're always calling the police about it.
Oh, whether it's... I don't have my sound things. Hold on, I'm looking for a tree that kills. I have a Christmas tree, that's about it.
No, it doesn't need a Christmas. Like maybe a wood sawing noise or something like wood chopping noise.
Putting stuff on a Christmas tree.
So there's those phone calls, which are public record and are noted down by the dispatcher at the police department. Well, the Trib gathers the weirdest, funniest ones of those and puts them in a column every week. There's also a column called 100 Years Ago, where they go through the newspaper in Greeley. It was called the Tribune Republican back then. And they look at what stories were in the paper back in 1921. And the ones that are the weirdest, the oddest, the funniest, through our modern eyes, they go and they take and they say, oh, okay, this is funny now. So we mix those 2 together.
And then you yell at your wife like you.
And then and we call it Grilly Crimes and Old Times, because it's a mix of 100 years ago, and then it's the cop log in Grilly. See, look. This is why people whistle. Look at those boobs that were just on there a moment ago. That is a nice pair of.
Here, read between the lines.
Careful! We have Facebook monitors watching, hon.
Read between the lines.
Yeah, there you go. What else are we doing on Dave's Gone By? Oh yeah, we have our today, yesterday quiz. People, it's funny. I've been doing this show literally for 19 years.
Since the 70s.
Feels like it sometimes. No, man. October of 2002, we went on the air for the first time as a broadcast on terrestrial radio. It is now September of 2001. So really, we will begin, God willing, our 20th season in October. Holy crap. So through all this time, I do the comedy, I bring on Rabbi Saul, we do sketches, sometimes we do songs, I talk about theater, I talk about all this stuff, and people are like, oh, yeah. And then I start doing this quiz, and I bring on other contestants, and that has become like the thing people gravitate towards.
I think because people are inherently competitive, right? Like, you have a lot of competitive people who view your show.
I think so. I think people want to watch, they want to play against our usual panelists and our guests, and they like testing themselves against the questions. They like the camaraderie, so it's not just me yapping into the camera, but there's other people. Whatever it is, I'm thrilled for whatever reason people tune into this program. So if it's to watch the Today, Yesterday trivia quiz, which we'll be doing today, by all means. So we'll have some trivia questions that we will be asking of our regular panel of David Sheward, who is the former managing editor of Backstage.
And former reigning champion of the quiz.
Generally, yeah. He is the quiz master. Well, not the host, I'm the host, but the quiz king.
He's the win. Usually he's the one the most.
Up until the last couple of weeks. Up until... really, the last month or so. Joyce thinks he's letting other people win. I think them's fighting words, quite honestly. But he is takeable, shall we say.
Since his vacations, he's got a little bit,
Yeah. Now that he's back teaching in school and his head's in the game, I think he's going to be very dangerous in the quiz again. But he's up against a real challenger. He's up against Leslie Hoban Blake, who's won a few of these now. Leslie is a theater critic. She's also a theatrical director. You can watch Leslie on the YouTube channel Critics Circle with our mutual friend Charlie Gross. They talk about the theater, they interview people, they review theater now that there's starting to be some theater to review. Leslie Hoban Blake and David Sheward taking on our great friend from Chicago, Vicky Quaddy. She used to be sort of a 1 or 2 time guest, but now she's kind of that third building block.
She's the whip
of our crew, and she's won a time or two. She has beaten them in our Today Yesterday quiz. So Vicky Quaggy, we've got a real group of people playing our trivia quiz later in the show. It's going to be great. Plus, we have Rabbi Saul Solomon. I mentioned he's talking to Ben Sidran. We also have him 3 days late. Discussing his thoughts on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, of course, was a couple of nights ago. It was Wednesday night into Thursday. So he wanted to frame his weekly sermon in terms of helping people, in terms of, Yom Kippur is a tough holiday. It's very solitary. And worst of all, you have to fast, right? You don't get to eat anything for, some people say 24 hours, some people say 25 straight hours of fasting. It's a day. Rabbi Saul has his thoughts on the best way to get through it. Now, of course, we've already gotten through it, but there are other fast days on the Jewish calendar, or if you're a Muslim, I think, every other week has a fast day in it, or how long does Ramadan go on? How long does that stuff go?
I think it's at least a week. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, and again, Ramadan, it's not like they fast nonstop for a week, but like from sundown until 5 o'clock when they can eat the next day. They're fasting. If you're Muslim, you're doing it. So Rabbi Saul has some coaching tips, some ways for you to make it through whether it's Yom Kippur, whether you're doing one of those detoxify fasts, where you're going to give yourself an enema, or pay someone else to give you an enema, and so you enjoy it more, and then you just sit there and do nothing but eat juice for 2 weeks. I don't know how the hell people deal with that. But Rabbi Saul, his rabbinical reflection, how to fast on Yom Kippur. That too on this episode of Dave's Gone By. And last but certainly least, we have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Because for a couple of years now, I've been writing little poems about little places in Colorado, and big ones too. So every week I come out with a terrible, Facebook people, if you're listening, disgusting, obscene limerick poem about a place in Colorado. And check it out. This one, today, we are going to Loch Buoy. Loch Buoy, Colorado. As you can tell, it's taken a name from a Scottish town. Never knew it existed. Go figure. But yes, there is a Loch Buoy, Colorado, and I do have a poem about it. So all of that coming at you on this episode of Dave's Gone By in the Daverhood. So, we already talked a little bit about COVID. What else is there?
I say we do crimes at all times. At 10 o'clock, I gotta be tortured.
That's true.
Where's my phone? There.
Okay. And hon, when we do this Gritty Crimes at All Times, we're not just doing it for ourselves.
We're doing it for the trees.
We're doing it for the trees, and I don't know about you, but I'm doing this one for Big Worm. Joyce and I were watching, even though she's a vegetarian and has literally zero interest in 95% of the things that are on this show, we watched the Great American Barbecue show on Netflix because we binge watch everything on Netflix. So we're watching this barbecue competition of these real serious barbecue people. And you would figure, well, there shouldn't be that much to barbecuing. You say, okay, you take a piece of meat, you throw salt and pepper on it.
There's temperature, there's like juiciness, all kind of. Who knows?
Oh, there's so much. You've got people do it in smokers, and it isn't like, okay, you turn on the smoker, put on the meat. No, it's you got to feed it with wood and chips and cedar things and coal and constantly keep it at. It's got to be at 109 because if it goes to 115, it burns. But if it's 80, it's not cooking. And for hours, man.
Yeah, there are things that you would enjoy in a barbecue cooking thing, and they would say, "Oh, this isn't right." Like it might be good for the average person, but they're like, "Oh, you don't have enough." What do you call it on the end of the brisket? You didn't have enough.
Oh, the hard crackle.
Yeah, the crackling or what? I'm like,
yeah, there's a thing on that. Well, if you're
who eats all that food? You think the crew?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
And they roasted a whole pig. Ugh.
Well, who eats on the baking shows?
They ate beaver. They ate.
Well, I didn't beaver too.
Lizard.
No, they also did a roadkill one, which was squirrel, beaver, lizard, and things like that. Was that raccoon or not? Or stuff like that.
Oh, they ate raccoon, yes.
Beaver tail, did they do snake? I don't think they did snake.
They didn't do snake, but lizard is close.
So, I mean, and that's the thing. These things have meat on them. And if you were living out in the woods or in the Appalachians and you were going to be eating, it wasn't like, oh, let's go kill a deer. That's easy. Sometimes it's like, oh, squirrel, bunny. I don't know how many lizards you see out there. But, grab them, skin them, get the meat. And if you do them right, they're going to taste just fine. It's kind of like that other show we were binging on where the guy goes to the tofu place. And he's like, and this guy's a meat man. This guy's looking for fried foods. He is looking for the things that are going to give him a heart attack before he's 28, right? So he goes in one place, and then he goes to some store, I guess in Atlanta or somewhere, that's pure vegan food.
Oh, that man, yes. Oh.
Yeah, big black guy.
And he looks ahead of
who loves, he's kissing sandwiches on camera.
It's not good.
That's fine, because he
disgusting.
loves it. Really? What?
I don't like any.
No. All right. Well, but he does. I mean, he's just, and he'll look at a sandwich and he'll bite it. There's I guess it's not a famous shot, but it's a famous shot if you watch the show where they put an egg an over easy egg on top of this sandwich, and he just goes, what? And he watches the yolk.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost pornographic. The yolk
Yes.
running down the side of the
He's
sandwich.
He's living in a universe that's very different. Yeah, and he gets it in his beard. He's like, oh.
No, he's not living in a universe that's very different. He's living in my universe. This man is like bacon on a cow that's cooked to perfection, and right? And he's getting great food after great food. He's got to choose a winner, so to speak. They all look like winners to me. And he goes into a vegan place, and she's like, "I'm gonna make you some vegan chicken, and you're gonna love it, and you're gonna think it's as great as any kind of chicken that you would have normally, quote unquote." And he's like, "Yep, sure I will, sure I will." And he goes, and she serves him a vegan chicken burger meal thing, and he bites into it, and he's literally emotionally affected.
First, what she did was she gave him a fried apple fritter pie with icing and ice cream.
Oh, it was right. It was peach. It was like a peach fried.
She did that to, kind of coerce him into like eating.
And then he bit into the thing, and he walks out the door, and he's like, it's almost as if he's having all his life, all his ethics, all his morals tested.
Yeah, and he doesn't like it. He calls tomatoes like filler, and
he hates tomatoes.
He hates vegetables.
The something of death, the red mask of death.
Yes, and then he hates the only thing he hates all vegetables. Yeah.
Right. So she gives him, whether it's made of tofu or seitan or I don't know what she actually used.
She said it was beans and peas.
Oh,
So it's much better.
Yeah.
We were in Canada in Victoria Island. I had the best vegetarian burger, or the Green Goddess in Louisiana. They make all the stuff without tofu or any of that. They use beans and corn and nut and
well, this guy wanted to nut all over his
it's
sandwich.
great.
I'll tell you that.
It's great. It was delicious.
And
delicious.
At the end of the show, he gave, not to ruin it for everybody, but he gave the vegan thing the number one. That was his favorite item. And this was a show on which he went to other restaurants, and he had like scraped out lobster and
veal parmesan.
Yeah. But my caveat for that is, yes, if you put a really great barbecue sauce on anything, enough of it is going to take, and you get the texture close. Really doesn't matter if it is chicken or beaver or peas and corn mashed together. You're essentially eating the crust and the sauce. And the problem, of course, for that is, and the dirty little secret of vegans is to make things taste like what carnivores like to eat and meat. They've got to salt everything, and sort of like, so yeah, you're trading not killing animals, great. You're trading not having that red beef cholesterol and heart blocking stuff for having high sodium content and getting high blood pressure from that. So that's kind of the dirty little secret. If they could make vegan food,
well, they have. So my sister sent me a thing that her cousin sent, and it's all about making South Asian vegetarian or vegan food that's healthy.
Really?
It takes a lot. We can't prep it in the kitchen. We don't.
No, I would go there. I would absolutely eat that.
No. Hacerlo, to make it yourself. Recipes.
Yeah, but if they're doing that, there's got to be somebody who's selling it.
Canada.
Oh, well, figures in
Canada.
And will it taste? At that point, then are you compromising? So it has a bit of salt, but not a lot.
Yeah, but also if you're not eating flesh that doesn't have cholesterol and all that stuff, you could probably take a little bit more salt.
Well, here's the other deal. Yeah. There was that other guy in the barbecue show we were talking about. Remember this? We started with Big Worm on this. The barbecue show we were watching, there was a guy who had a heart attack like 2 or 3 years before this show. But he decided to stay in the barbecue game, right? So he's cooking all these things, and he's making the seasoning, because it's all about the rubs. It's all about it's all about how things are cooked. Yeah. But the rub and the spices.
And how they clean it, right? They all clean it, and they slice it thin. The one lady made the steaks too thick. They didn't cook, or like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that is more important. But it's also about what you treat it with, the sauce and the spices. So relentlessly, this poor guy would be cooking everything great, but it would be a little bland to these judges who were expert barbecue people, because they'd say, hey, you haven't enough salt on it. it's just not savory enough. It doesn't have enough
Well,
salt.
you know what happened. Like with me, I gave
Yeah.
up. So I don't use salt. I mean, I'll have salty things like those pea pod snacks with salt,
Right.
or I'll have my brewer's yeast. But
Or cheese when you have
yes,
mozzarella
cheese,
or Parmesan.
but
Yeah.
I don't like. I remember one time I went to a restaurant that I used to go to all the time, like Chipotle, and they you can get lower salt, like rice without salt there. You can.
Yeah, you can.
And I ate it, and I said to you, honey, I was like, honey, this tastes like a salt lick. It's so salty, and you're like, it's the same as always. But because your palate, when you remove it, it's weird, right? You know?
If this barbecue
Yeah,
guy went to a barbecue where specifically the judges and the people who were eating had a lower salt diet, not for a couple
like
of
a
days.
Food Channel health
Yeah.
judge, yeah.
For them, their palates will have changed,
I agree.
and a little bit of salt will be perfect. I mean, just
agree.
but for the rest of us who are just engorged with salt and sugar in everything we eat, whether it even needs it or not, and then just overdosed with 100 and this milligrams of sodium and this amount of sugar in a thing that why is there sugar in this? Bread and so forth.
You would be able to more refinedly taste the elements, yeah.
Right. So I feel bad for the guy. He was in the wrong competition.
I agree.
His barbecuing was probably fantastic for people who, like him, had given up salt for 2 years.
But also in comparison to the other ones who are super salty.
Well, yeah.
So it's like if you have, I could eat plain food that's delicious, but if you have somebody who's like seasoning so well and you're plain, it's going to be like, through comparison, it's going to be, that you're going to know the difference, right?
But one of the things that hooked me, Joyce got hooked into the show because there was this big, good-looking black guy named Rashid. And she's, ooh, more Rashid, please,
I also I watch a lot of dark stuff, like deep, sad stuff. I wanted something more like fun. You said pick a fun show.
And not to mention that Rashid was like the most decent, and they were all decent people, but the most decent egg among all of the people in this competition. I mean, he was like helping everybody.
The guy, Big Worm's
what's his Ashley? Ashley was his name.
Ashley had like 2 meltdowns, and he helped him. He's like, "Don't give up, man." And then Ashley helped his competitor win the competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that was cool. That sort of made up for Ashley being he was a pussy. I'm sorry. Ashley's this big. He's like 400-pound, big man, big like Bubba. Walked off the set of Hee Haw. And he's a well-known barbecuer. He's got a restaurant. He's got a thing. You can see it on the web.
It's like football players or any athletes. In high school, you're the star. You go to college, you're the lowest person on the totem pole. Like you're a big fish in a small pond.
Well, he's a big fish in a pond.
But when you go to a big big pond, you're a teeny fish.
Yeah, no. This guy's nowhere. He gets in the pond. The water's all displaced, right? But first, I loved him because he did everything, every single show, and I'm sure they coached him to do this to have some sort of arc. But they coached him to say, well, remember, I'm doing this from my great barbecue friend, Big Worm. So we love this idea. It was like this guy having a friend named Big Worm that he loved, and he's dedicating everything to
I think it was
Big
his
Worm.
partner. I think it was his partner.
Yeah,
No?
I mean, I don't know. I think they were just good buddies who, fishing buddies, barbecue buddies. Maybe butt buddies, I don't know.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
But the late, great Big Worm. And every show he said, how would Big Worm do? I wish Big Worm were here tonight.
And then he won with the brisket recipe that was Big Worm's.
Yeah, Big Worm was apparently like this real great barbecuing and friend of Ashley. This enormous barbecue fella. But Ashley lost his shit in one of the...
he's like, I can't go on. Something didn't cook. I think it's chicken. He didn't...
He's like, why should I? It's burned. I can't serve this in the middle of the day. Not even at the end when every episode someone's cut. That's the game. He was like, no, and he just goes back to his hut to pout and sulk. And again, I mean, it's high pressure competition. You're on TV for the first time in your life. You're up against.
And the stamina, like remember the last one they stayed up all night. Like it takes and you have to build your barbecue pit. Like it takes if you're at a barbecue competition. Putting meat on a barbecue, that's one thing. You probably have everything prepared, your sauces. But when you got to build the pit, and it's a lot of stuff.
It's tremendous pressure on all these people.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't build a barbecue pit. I'd be like,
I couldn't even light the yard side candle for my father.
Oh, God.
Because this week, it was Yom Kippur. My dad died in May. And so Mom buys I bought the candle. So, she's lighting her candles for her dead parents. And I'm...
And her father.
Oh, two. That's right. Two parents and her husband. Yeah, and she gets me my first time lighting a yard side candle, except I guess when he died. Yeah. So I like the yard side candle, and I don't like matches. I don't like striking matches. I think I'm gonna get burned. I don't even like Hanukkah candles.
That and soap.
No, but Hanukkah because the melt the hot.
And changing your underwear.
Oh, I enjoy changing my underwear so much that I leave my underwear on for days at a time, specifically so that when I do it, it's a big. If I did it every day, I just got to change my underwear. But when you change your underwear once a month, it's a thing. It's like, I can peel my nutsack off the fiber. The stains on the back look like a Rothko. It's
I would never say that. I don't think that's ever been true.
So, but no, fire. Things that could hurt me scare me. I don't like needles. I don't like bees and hornets and wasps.
David, are you sure you weren't the person behind the no booster thing? You probably were like, woo!
I testified on Capitol Hill about this.
David, I have a PhD in nuclear, whatever. I'm an expert in this. I just want to tell y'all that.
So, for me to actually just strike a match, which I've probably done 4 times in my life, I'm like,
strike
no.
Strike a pose.
Strike a pose. So we go into the drawer, and I'm looking for those barbecue lighter things, which I love.
And all you're doing is shooting out like the
butane.
Fire liquid, yeah.
But we used to use these. We didn't have a barbecue in Colorado. What did I use them for? I was doing something. When we were lighting candles, I would use it, but...
You had it. I don't know why you
there was something that I would put...
No, we had electric stove.
Yeah.
We didn't have a barbecue, we had a grill. I don't know what you were lighting. What were you lighting?
I don't know. There was a point when maybe it was the pilot light of one of our stoves when we had gas back living here.
I don't know what you were doing with that.
Well, whatever it was a really helpful thing to have one of those barbecue starter things. It's like, those long, you know what these are, long things, and you go, and fire comes out, little bitty flame. It's very, very far away from your fingers and your hand. It's wonderful. And you just go, whoop, you light whatever you got to light, you take your finger off, and it's done. But, of course, the 2 things that we have in the drawer, they're from the year Gimel, they don't work. And now choice is like, use a match. I don't want to use a match. Use a match. I don't want to use a match. Use a match. Fine, of course, I've got to use a match. Which my mother kindly strikes for me and then hands to me. What I didn't realize is, what was the thing that I could do? Oh, no, I took the unlit match and lit it from one candle, which wasn't so bad. It's the striking thing, because you've got to strike the match on this surface. Now the match is upside down with the flame coming right at your fingers. So now I've got to turn the match upside down without burning my fingers. I hate it! I'm scared of it. I would never be a pyromaniac. I would never be an arsonist. I couldn't. And now I've got this match in my hands. I'm like, oh, come on, Dad, hurry.
And then you blow out all the yard signs. You almost did.
I did. Because I went like, as soon as Dad's candle was lit, even on Hanukkah, like I would light the shamash on Hanukkah with a barbecue lighter, and then once you've got the shamash lit, you can use another candle, which is much longer than a match to light. You're supposed to use another candle to light all the other candles. But of course, my thing on Hanukkah is when you're lighting these candles, and for years as a child, what's your natural instinct? You hold a candle, right? And then it's like, oh, okay, it's got the fire on it. Now let's light this and this. But the problem is when you hold a candle like this, and they're very fast drip candles, Hanukkah candles last maybe half an hour, immediately they start to drip. And when candle drips, it doesn't go straight down. Where does it go? It goes, finger. So it took me years, because I was a retarded child, to learn that if you hold the candle more, is it straight up where it goes straight down, or is it better to tilt it? I think it's better straight up. Straight up just goes down, it avoids your fingers, takes longer, and you just go straight up. Here, candle. And I lived. And I survived. I survived lighting my dad's yahrzeit candle. I'm so proud of myself. Um, Big worm. So that was the thing. We were watching the barbecue show about the wuss who was doing it all. And I think even when he had his meltdown, Rashid, this big, really good looking, and really ridiculously nice black guy, goes to him and says, "You can't let you down.
Like,
You
don't,
can't
don't fail by not doing it. Fail by the quality of your stuff, but don't fail by defeat.
You don't walk. Don't leave in the middle. See it through. And if you don't win, you don't win. There were still other contestants at that point. So if someone did worse than Ashley, he could still stay, even if he messed things up and didn't get things, all well and all right. And so Rashid convinced Ashley to do it.
Correct.
For
Big Worm.
For Big Worm.
BW. Big Worm.
So we're doing this show for Big Worm, my friends. Oh, I think on that note, let's open up iTunes, which turned into Apple Music, which sucks the big worm of death. I tried to load some MP3s onto. It's not letting me. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this stupid thing. I used to love iTunes. Now it's garbage. It really, really is. But anywho, it still has the opening of the show, and it's got some of the music for the show, including how we open Grilly Crimes. Really? Oh, wait, here it is. Look, they've changed everything about iTunes. What the? It's like multicolored, crazy nonsense now.
Oh boy!
Look at this! Look at this! All I want to do is search for something on my screen.
Is that like a YouTube?
I'm clearing this. I don't know what the hell they've done.
They probably want to make it more user friendly, but it's confusing.
There's nothing user friendly about this. It's terrible.
Aww.
Where's my stuff?
Here, what help? I can't look.
This is unfreaking believable. Okay. Songs.
Right there. Yeah. Oh, good, you got it.
Yeah, no, but if I go like this, and I just search for a song, my library. That's it.
Yeah. There you go.
My library.
There you go, honey. Good job. Good job.
I did it.
For a big worm. What would Big Worm do?
Big Worm, la la.
I have to leave in a few minutes because I have to
go
to the gym.
Well, 10, 15 minutes of this. Oh, do you want to do that?
No.
No, okay. So, we even have the sound effects, courtesy of my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, who does nice things to my big worm, if you know what I'm saying. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Grilly Crimes and Old Times. Stories that have come out of the Grilly Tribune newspaper, one of which collects phone calls to police dispatch in town, and also one that is gathering stories from 100 years ago in the newspapers in northern Colorado. Are you ready for a crime?
Yes.
A caller. Hello? Oh, wow. This caller on 56th Avenue reported a man who walked through the neighborhood wearing a neon orange safety vest. And
I think that's called a utility worker.
Yeah. Or in Greeley, that's Fashion Week. So, wow, this is the best laugh I've had from you in a while. Thank you. A woman on 30s. Oh, no, see, that's sexist and objectifying. On 37th Avenue, suspected police officers were trying. This woman suspected that police officers were trying to get into her apartment by messing with her doorknobs.
I heard that.
I like messing with her doorknobs. But there's a caveat to this, hon.
What's that?
She also said the cops were invisible.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
They're the invisible police messing with
ghosting. I mean,
Oh, yeah. That's true.
I believe it. I believe that's the new, what do we have, the space, what did Trump want, the Space Force or whatever? So
What's wrong with the Space
Force?
No,
I'm saying if we can have that, we can also have
invisible cops.
Yeah.
Well, they do. The CIA for years have been, no joke, have been experimenting with making things invisible by putting mist in the air. Well, no, in other words, like fog, you can't see a quarter mile in front of you in fog.
Is that why you
So
fart
create.
so much?
So you can't see anything in my room when I have a sandwich. It's like, ah.
Oh.
This is the most. I dedicate this story not to Big Worm, but to you.
Oh, thank you.
This is the romantic story of the morning.
Oh, okay.
A caller on North 30th Avenue Court. Oh, sorry. Hello, North 30th Avenue Court. Reported an unknown vehicle had dropped off. You want to talk about the most romantic gesture ever. This vehicle dropped off roses,
Ooh.
hot Cheetos, and Gatorade for the past 2 days.
That's beautiful.
Who says Polish romance isn't dead, ladies and gentlemen?
David, I think that's beautiful. Like, I guess I don't like Cheetos, I don't like Gatorade, but I guess maybe there's a theme?
But roses, Cheetos,
maybe it's
and
everything you can get at 7-Eleven. Everything you can get at the 24-hour grocery.
I think it's an old Mose Allison country music song or something like, I gave her roses, Cheetos, and Gatorade, 'cause she's my baby. But she left with a trucker. I don't even know. Anywho, now, at around the same time, a caller on Poudre River Road reported. Oh, sorry. Hello, caller. No. Did I tell you about the roses, Gatorade, and Cheetos guy? Check this out. Same time, right? A caller reported that someone was walking around the area with a bow and arrow. Now think about it. Romantic dinner, roses. It's Cupid!
Oh,
Cupid is going around Greeley. He knows it's basically one step above Appalachian Hickville. And so he's got his little bow and arrow, and it's like, no, I can get roses and chocolates and bubble baths and trips to Paris. What do the women of Greeley want? Well, roses for sure, but hot Cheetos and Gatorade for that really special, anniversary night.
I think listen, for some people,
I
have a friend, every time she goes on the airplane, she likes to eat those little the goldfish, the little cheddar cheese. So people have ritual. Maybe for them, that's
at their first date, the guy had $10 in his pocket, and he's like, "We're going to the movies. I can't really afford the movie snacks. Let's just sneak in a bag of hot Cheetos." And it reminds them of their very first,
Can we do one or two more? Because I gotta go.
Yeah. Well, let me do one or two old times here. Mm-hmm. Old times are items that were in the newspaper back in 1921. A 50-year-old Greeley man was watching the circus. They were setting up in the downtown area. Witnesses said the man was warned not to get too close when they were unloading the animal wagon. So he's got one of those zoophilic viruses. He stayed close, and the tongue of a lion wagon slammed into. Oh, I thought it was a lion. The tongue of a lion wagon slammed into him, breaking his leg. Oh, I read it wrong. I thought it was going to be the tongue of a lion. I'm like, nah. Well, gotta watch out for those lion wagons. And I ain't lion wagon. The Colorado State Highway Commission, good Lord, there was a highway commission in 1921, announced that they will pave the dirt highway between Denver and Fort Collins within 2 years. Greeley leaders complained that the Denver-Greeley Highway should be paved at the same time, or there would be an angry rivalry between the two towns. I think we know which town won that battle. Fort Collins. Yeah, I think Fort Collins got their paving. When did it really get paved? It was 2016, I think they started. Just one side, going towards Denver. Let me do an elsewhere while you're still here. Let me do a Dave Goes Elsewhere item, which means, it's not me going elsewhere. It's that we go for a story in Greeley Crimes and Old Times that isn't from Greeley. It's from elsewhere. This time we're going all the way to Seoul, South Korea. That's our soul music. On March 28th, so this was a couple of months ago, a young couple in South Korea spent their Sunday at the Lotte World Mall in Seoul.
Nice.
They spotted an eye-catching painting in the street noise exhibit.
Street boys?
A street noise.
Oh,
like,
street
graffiti
boys.
and yeah, right.
Oh, they're vivid.
Taking the paint buckets and brushes lying below the work as an invitation to collaborate, they happily contributed.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Oh, my God.
Yeah, a few strokes of their own, and in so doing, ruined a $440,000 painting.
Yikesy.
The anonymous couple were entirely oblivious to their becoming instant vandals. They saw paint and brushes underneath the painting and dove in.
Haven't they ever been to MoMA or any kind of? You don't do that.
Well, wait, if you saw,
No.
in modern
it's
art,
part of the installation, unless in the little sign it says "try this for yourself," or
yeah,
there was a big problem in I think it was the MoMA, or was it in the one in the art museum in Denver? Some artist did a thing with candy, so they put all candy like glass,
oh God,
glass like candy with wrappers against a wall, and people were taking it thinking it was candy.
Right.
It was an art installation. Like,
well, you gotta put do not
get
touch.
yourself some culture.
Well, they did. This lovely couple thought, because so much of modern art is sort of interactive,
Unless
or walk
it
through and this
says
makes
you do it,
noise.
you don't touch it.
Yeah. Well,
Let
the
me go
painting.
on that happy note.
The painting had been displayed this way since 2016, when American graffiti artist John Andrew Pirello finished it before.
Could he fix it? Could he refix it?
I don't know. It's funny. That's the one thing they don't say is whether
you didn't put
it
your
can
light
be
out.
restored. My what?
Your light. You didn't put your.
Oh, my light.
Do you want it?
Yeah. Just take it out and I'll plug it in. I'll set the thing in, or try and I'm wondering why I'm sort of half in shadow
I didn't know
here.
why. You look different.
Wow. Yeah, I missed all that. Oh well. Thank you, dear.
This
Anyway.
is the best I can do. I'm kind of.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. American graffiti artist John Andrew Pirello finished it before an audience
Good?
for the Great
Better?
Graffiti. Oh, much better.
Okay.
Thank you. There we go.
There you go, honey.
Now
you looking even more pervy.
So he finished this painting at this Seoul gallery. Have a good one. Pirello, who goes by the name John 1, he has not responded to the incident. No charges. This is cool. They're not pressing charges because, to be fair, Pirello's huge painting was the only one in the gallery without a frame. And since the incident, the painting has been displayed at several exhibits, but with a fence and a warning sign around it. It's one thing if I were going to do that as the painter, as the museum, I would be like, okay, we'll leave paint cans and brushes underneath this action painting, this street painting, to kind of show that closeness between the creating of the painting. But don't have real actual paint anymore in the cans. Have some old, paint that dripped and dried. Anybody who's ever tried painting a house, if you leave a bucket open for 2 days, you can't use it anymore. So just have that. Instead of the couple trying, they dip, it doesn't. Fine, no harm done. I'm glad nobody pressed charges against this couple, signs or no signs. Let's do a little bit more of Greeley Crimes and Old Times. I have a little bit of a noisemaker here. If I need one, I can grab another. I'll make my own noise. Oh, here we go. Come on, make some noise. Girls, rock ya boys. Don't even know where I'm going with that. A caller. Oh, hello. Hello, caller. A caller on 31st Street in Greeley, Colorado, reported a driver threw something wet into his vehicle after a possible road rage incident. There's worse things to throw into a vehicle, but it's like, wouldn't it be great? And I'm not condoning this. I'm not saying road rage is good. I'm not saying throwing anything at anybody who's in the middle of driving, even at 20 miles an hour, is a good, safe thing to do, or a reaction or a response. But wouldn't it be cool if the guy had his windows rolled down and into the back seat, not the front, too dangerous, but into the back seat, This angry other driver tossed like a squid. Wouldn't that be, or onto the windshield, like, because other icky wet things like a wet sponge, but a squid. I don't know. I just love the idea of that. I'm going nowhere with it. Hey, you know me. I'm just joking. I'm just squidding. Thank you very much. A caller on 8th Avenue. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, weird. This caller reported a man with green hair who wore a clown mask and carried a metal bar. He tapped on the window with the bar and walked away. So, see, turns out the Joker did take Gotham away from Enigma. Who knew? Who knew? We'll do another old-timey kind of thing. The town of Berthoud, this is from 100 years ago. The town of Berthoud, Colorado was giving free porch lights and electrical wiring to residents to make the street brighter at night. But they will no longer be giving free items to their citizens. The reason is that many citizens move the lights for lighting inside the house or change connecting wires to run washing machines in the houses. It's amazing now how things change. We bitch about 4G networks. And back then, it's like people put housing lights outside to make driving easier and streets brighter. And people were like, oh, we don't have to pay for electricity if we just take these and, hook them up to the washing machine. Yahoo! This is upsetting. This is sad. The Weld County Drive against prairie dogs has begun. If you've watched this show, and if you've been watching when Joyce and I first moved to northern Colorado, I've spoken on this show about how I fell in love with marmots and prairie dogs and those cute little squirrely-like things, not really like squirrels, or the squirrels don't have all that fur, who just come out of the ground, they get up on the little haunches, they'll beep, 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 they wag their tails, and you just kind of, I was having so much fun just looking at them and watching them. They were so cute. But they are a menace. They are a rodent. They go into fields where horses, people who have horses and other animals are, and the horse doesn't notice the hole in the ground, steps in and breaks a leg. It's a bad thing. So there's a reason people try and get rid of prairie dogs, even 100 years ago. And the Weld County Drive against prairie dogs had begun. For 15 cents per acre, the county will scatter grain dosed with strychnine poison to kill as many prairie dogs as they can. And I'm sure that's what they're still... Now I think they do other things where they kind of smoke them out or flood them out or they trap them, which is fine. They trap them. I never understood this either. How you get an animal, you don't want that animal anymore, but you want to kill it. God bless you. So you just put it in a van and you take it like 10 miles down the road and you like it won't ever come back. Like an animal that can probably travel 10 miles an hour if it's running, or 20, can suddenly like hitchhike and come literally back to just where it was again. If a dog, and you know these stories, like dogs get lost, and then they somehow wind up hundreds of miles away, and then 5 years later, you open your back door, and there's Fido. He's alive. He's safe, a little worse for wear, but oh my God, it's our dog. And he managed to get hundreds of miles lost and find his way hundreds of miles back. So when we rescue these animals, we trap all these marmots and these prairie dogs, and you take them in a van and you put them in cages, and you like, go 20 miles. Go free. I really wonder if, like, a year later, they're suddenly back digging holes in the same patch of ground where they were. It's like, this is our land. Why are you throwing us off it? Anywho. Let's do... oh, yeah. We're going to end with this one. Since I was talking about lighting my dad's yard-side candle over Yom Kippur, this is so appropriate here. This came from a website called The Daily Dot. It's all over. It's viral. It's on YouTube. It's really about TikTok. Some are wondering if a TikTok trend has gone, well, a bit far. Last week, two sisters went viral with a video showing them doing Soulja Boy's Rick and Morty dance. Now that's not the Get Swifty thing. This is some rap artist, hip hop artist named Soulja Boy, or wasn't it Soulja Boy Tell Him? Maybe he's now just Soulja Boy. But he's got this dance, this song called the Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty. So it's not the greatest song ever written, but it has a catchiness to it and a danciness to it. Okay, so two sisters went viral on TikTok doing the Soulja Boy Rick and Morty dance at a funeral of their mother in front of her casket, which was open. There's video of it. The video has garnered, at least when I noted this down a couple of days ago, the video already had 12 million views on TikTok from an account, and this is really clever. The account that posted it was Rick and Morning account, at Rick and Morning. I know all of you are searching for it now. And the video even comes with a jokey tag, quote, "We also do weddings, bar mitzvahs, baptisms, gender reveals, and graduations" in it. So the sisters do this. They do this dance against the on-screen caption, "Day one of singing Rick and Morty to our mom until she comes back from the dead." I love it. I mean, no, I don't. I love the idea of it. I don't necessarily love the idea of two people literally looking at their mother at that moment, dead, in her casket, and there's doing a little bit of the Rick and Morty Soulja Boy moves. And yet, totally their call, and apparently they were having a very tough time with the loss of them. I think these are fairly young-ish women. They weren't teenagers or anything, so it's not like their mother lived to 80-something. I mean, this was apparently a very hard death for them, and they were very close to their mother. So to do this little moment and have that as a viral memory, let alone a memory, and when they probably spent the past several days just sobbing and not wanting to get out of bed, I'm all for it. Would I want someone to a comical dance at my funeral? First of all, I'm not having open casket, no way. But if anybody's showing up to my funeral, you want to make all the jokes you want. Do you want to stand near my casket and do? I guess if at my, that'd be cute. If at my funeral you wanted to do a knock-knock joke. Just that's the thing. Every single mourner, as if anybody would mourn my passing, but if every single guest and mourner at my funeral just lined up and every single one of them had a knock-knock joke, and they had to come up to the casket and go on the pine box like, and just to make sure, it's sort of the last check before I go on the ground, because if they suddenly hear, "Who's there?" You know to open the casket, and maybe they're a little premature. But if I don't do it, maybe the rabbi, that would be rabbi's not going to make a big long speech. Rabbi's not going to just, he's just there every time when the mourner comes up. It's like, "Who's there?" And who? And play along. Wait, maybe there'll be 50. Maybe, who knows? I don't have children. But I do have a sort of a big family on one side of the family. Maybe there'll be 40, 50 people at my funeral, trying to argue who gets my old record collection. But they're there, but they have to come up. That's a condition. Not that I'll have a will, or a way, but they have to come up and do a good knock-knock joke. The more offensive and disgusting, the better. There's the funeral of Old Dave. And that is Gritty Crimes and Old Times for this Saturday, September 18th, 2021. Oops. See, this is my fault. This is my not turning iTunes up. My bad.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at
is that Mr. Greeley was no fool. Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
So we have so much more to do for you on this episode of Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Among the things that we have to do are Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we're going to Loch Buoy, Colorado. There's actually a place called Loch Buoy, Colorado. And we'll have our Today, Yesterday trivia quiz featuring Vicky Quaggy, Leslie Hoban Blake, and David Sheward. Plus, of course, we have coming up in about an hour or so, Ben Sidran, the multi-instrumentalist, author, musicologist, music teacher, guy who was in several iterations of the Steve Miller Band and has recorded and produced some of the most famous artists in all of rock and pop music history. Ben Sidran going to be with us in the neighborhood. But listen, what else we have to do here is I want to be able to share my screen and make sure that I have this up. So let me, because Rabbi Saul Solomon is going to be doing the, okay, good, so that's ready. Rabbi Saul will be interviewing Ben Sidran, but earlier in the week, it was Yom Kippur, and Rabbi Saul wanted to be helpful. He wanted to get people through the holiday, so he posted a video a little early. Normally we wait until it appears on the show, and then he posts his videos. But since he wanted to do this before Yom Kippur, he did it on Tuesday or early Wednesday so people could see it and get through the holiday the Rabbi Saul way. So what I do have to do, though, is to share my screen. Let me see if I can do this. All right. I guess I can do it this way. I'm going to share this. Oh, there you go. Look at that. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado or a don't, this is Rabbi Saul Solomon's rabbinical reflection, his mini sermon. So the next time that you have to fast, keep these tips in mind about fasting. Shalom, damn it! This is Rabbi Saul Solomon with a rabbinical reflection for Yom Kippur 2021. Even non-observant Jews who wouldn't know a Torah from a tuba remember that they're Jewish on Yom Kippur. It's the one holiday on the Hebrew calendar where everyone agrees to be depressed. We think about our sins, we promise to do better, and we hope God doesn't hold us to that promise because, let's face it, we're human. So people ask me, Rabbi, how do I get through the day? How do I observe the Yom Kippur fast? Okay, so on Erev Yom Kippur, you have dinner in the evening, and when the sun goes down, you stop eating. Then, an hour later, you keep not eating. By 9, 10 o'clock, when you usually have a snack, don't. 60 to 120 more minutes will pass. During those minutes, do not eat. Then, time to go to sleep. Unless you're a narcoleptic elephant, you don't eat when you sleep, so you're fine. If you get up in the middle of the night to pee, don't pee-eat. Save that for Shavuos. Go back to sleep. Wake up in the morning. Pee again. Brush your teeth. This is great because if you're thirsty, you get a little water, a minty bissel flavor there, but it doesn't count as food because it's a health thing. You can even gargle, but no fair gargling with a Starbucks latte. Now, the fun thing about Yom Kippur is you can't work. So, lie on the couch, read a book, make up a song, and continue not eating. Eventually, noon will roll around, and you'll think it's time to eat. Guess what? It's not. Keep reading and singing. Now it's early afternoon, and you're getting hungry. Too bad, don't eat. By 3 o'clock, you should have a minor but persistent headache. This is all a natural part of Jewish suffering. However, it's also a fantastic opportunity because you can take a Tylenol and have more water. That's 2 food groups with 1 ailment. Now it's 3:30 and you're exhausted. Go back to sleep. Try not to dream about food, or naked women, or anything else you want to eat. After your nap, dusk should be approaching. Home stretch! Just another hour and you can stuff your face, but not yet. A little more torture never hurt anyone. I will say, the most messed up thing about Yom Kippur in America is that it doesn't go 24 hours. It goes 25. The Chassids invented this custom to make up for the inexactitude of when the sun officially rises and sets. They add an extra hour to be safe. Good for them. The rest of us can look at a Timex. When you hit 24 hours and 1 second, the bagel can go here. Please note that if you are pregnant or sick of being pregnant, do not fast. That's just common sense, which you don't find often in religion. But rabbis agree, if you're feeling crummy, don't be a dummy, feed your tummy. However, if you're okay, you're in the mood to detoxify, and you want to jump on the scale and see how much weight you lost just before you gain it all back, this is your chance. It is recommended that you break the fast gently. Don't be eating a chopped liver with sour pickles and a corned beef chaser. Have a little soup, juice, vegetables, noodle pudding, clams, casino. Just kidding on that one. Pace yourself. Portion control. After a fast, your eyes are bigger than your stomach, which will scare the hell out of your optometrist. To sum up, if you are fasting on Yom Kippur, the important thing is, don't eat! You might want to write that down if starvation makes you forgetful. Otherwise, have a meaningful Yom Kippur and a fast. This has been a rabbinical reflection from Rabbi Sal Solomon, Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York, giving you plenty of food for thought. Hello, it's me, Rabbi Sal, with rabbinical reflections for you all. I come from Temple Sons of Bitches here in Great Neck, New York. Shut up and pay attention to me. Nobody quite like Rabbi Sal Solomon. Do go to shalomdammit.com to find out more about him. And most importantly, stay with us here in the neighborhood, because Rabbi Sal will be back with us talking to the veteran and super talented musician, composer Ben Sidran just about an hour from now. But before then, we have more fun to do on Dave's Gone By, which, by the way, our website is davesgoneby.com. All our archives are there for you for free. Not just for you, I mean, for even the people sitting next to you, but davesgoneby.com. Since we started the show 19 plus years ago, our first episode, an hour long, audio only, it's there from 2002. And from 2012, all our shows are there. And all our interviews are on the site, davesgoneby.com. It's literally, at this point, thousands of hours of comedy and entertainment, all at your fingertips. You can download, or you can just stream it on your computer if you don't like downloading things to your hard drive. We also archive all our stuff at archive.org, a nonprofit website, archive.org, and castbox.fm. If you just want the audio of all our episodes, Castbox is a cool place for podcasting. So if you want to listen to the show just as a podcast, castbox.fm. And finally, yes, we have a YouTube channel. It's Dave's Gone By, and you can see all our last couple of years of video episodes on Facebook, because they don't go away. You just have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But really, still, the best way to watch all our stuff and hear all our stuff is davesgoneby.com. Now, speaking of hearing stuff, I hear the sound of our door opening to admit guests. Guests in the neighborhood coming into the gallery as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, here to play the Today, Yesterday weekly quiz on Dave's Gone By. A couple of great old friends already. First of all, we have the delightful, the lovely, and the now finally back on stage, Vicky. Whoa. There we go. And guys, make sure you mute. David, you're
unmute.
You're good. But Vicky, we don't.
There you go.
Good
There, we got it. We're getting it.
Sorry, Vicky Quaggy, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? How has it been being back on stage doing Holy Ghost Bingo and Late Night Catechism in Chicago?
It's been a challenge. I mean, it's really getting people to feel comfortable coming back inside. So we have done everything possible. We have cleaned the place like crazy. You have to be vaccinated just to get into the building. You have to wear your mask
The whole time, all the way through, from beginning to end.
Oh, there I am.
Oh,
I wanted to put up pumpkins.
You're in the pumpkin field.
Wow. Okay. Can you tilt the camera just a little bit so we get a little more of your? Yeah.
I can, just a tiny bit. Oh.
There we go. Now you're framed perfectly. Thank you.
Excellent.
So yes, everybody masked the whole time. How big is the theater that you do this in?
Well, the building itself is pretty big. It's got 5 performance spaces. My space only has about 60, 70 seats. So it's smaller. And I think people, I mean, because we're only selling only about a third or a little bit more. I mean, I'm hoping to get, every week it's getting better, yes.
I mean, safely better. I mean, if people are getting COVID from you, I think no, not better. But if everybody's safe and wearing the masks and vaxxed and
vaxxed, right? And we've cleaned it, and and it's not sold out. So if it were sold out, I'd be thrilled. But
of course, because you can. It's not like you're selling fewer tickets just because you have a cap. Like they're saying, you can only sell 25. It's like people are just not quite. I haven't been back. I've been back to New York. I haven't been back to Broadway or Broadway yet.
I've gone out. I've gone to restaurants and I figure I'm triple vaxxed now because I got the booster.
You did?
I did. I got the booster a month ago.
How did it feel? Well, first of all, none of my business. But how did you? Are you?
How did I get it?
How'd you manage that?
Yeah. I went to my for a checkup, just my general once a year checkup. The doctor said to me, I think in a day or two, the FDA is going to say that you can get a booster, that it'll be available. And she said, you should get it because I take drugs for rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
So the very next day, the FDA approved it. I then immediately contacted the pharmacy where I got the drug initially, got the shot, and they didn't have Moderna any longer. They had Pfizer. So I just started calling around Walgreens. All I had to do, I found a Walgreens right in my neighborhood that had Moderna. I brought my ID, the original, paperwork, or the card. I signed the paperwork, and all I had to do was check to confirm that I indeed qualified. They didn't ask. They didn't, I just said, yes, I qualify.
Because of rheumatoid arthritis.
Because and my rheumatoid arthritis is pretty much in check now, but I still have to take those drugs.
Right.
If you have to have rheumatoid arthritis, it's like a little silver lining. You get the third shot. And they just had me wait for 20 minutes to warm it up, and in my arm.
And was your arm sore again? I mean, how did you? Any reaction at all?
Yes, my arm was more sore than the first 2 shots. And I had a little bit of a headache and just that little malaise that I'm starting to get a little flu or something, but
for a day or two or for how long?
No, like just really overnight. And then I woke up in the morning and I was fine.
Thank God.
And I'm so thrilled to have had it.
Now, David Sheward, I'm not leaving you out of the conversation. Welcome back to the neighborhood, of course. David Sheward, former managing editor of Backstage and the former head of the drama desk, but now also still a theater critic for theaterlife.com, culturaldaily.com, and blogger for the David Desk. How are you thinking in terms of boosters? You thank God your health, so it's
I'm a bit confused at this point because I had thought that I would be qualified for one in October, which would have been 8 months since I got the second one.
Right.
But then I just heard today that the FDA is saying, no, we don't approve it unless you're over 65 or you have underlying conditions. So I don't know. I mean, if I'm qualified, I'll get it definitely.
The FDA hasn't been clear because it's talking out both sides of their mouth. I think on some level they're saying that don't bother with the boosters yet because not everybody's been vaccinated in the first place. And then everybody really should get a booster. So it's not about the booster not helping people out there under 65. It's like, don't put our energies there.
Well, it's like I've heard that some people just walk into can just walk into a Walgreens or a pharmacy and make an appointment and get it. And there's not too much, grilling.
What's stopping people from actually, if they're addicted to vaccines? And then what's stopping them from just going to like 5 different Walgreens and getting like every couple of weeks a new shot?
No, you're in the system.
Oh yeah, is that how?
Yeah,
you're in their system.
And you would have to produce the card, and it would say, "Oh, you've already been vaccinated 3 times. That's it."
Well, what if you say, I've never been vaxxed? What if you're lying and you say,
you have to produce ID of some kind. You'd have to like manufacture some kind of ID.
So then you're in. Oh, okay, yeah.
You have to fake an ID. This is like
nobody's ever done that in this country.
Well, this sounds like a good comedy with a gang of old people saying, "Oh, I want to get vaccines," so we can get Clint Eastwood and
that's right.
Helen Mirren.
Yes, definitely Helen Mirren.
Betty White, and they could be a gang of old people who steal vaccines for themselves. We call it the Vax Gang.
I like it. The Vax of Life.
Vax of Life.
Now, the Vax of Life today is, of course, we're also still waiting for our
Eastwood and Betty White.
No, we're not waiting for Betty White. We're waiting for Leslie Hoban Blake, who I'm sure is trying to log on from wherever. But the thing is, we've got just an hour today because I've got a guest coming on at 11:15.
Okay.
So I'm going to start the game.
Okay.
And when Leslie, God willing, gets, Leslie gets, but we can start without her. So I'm going to ask Vicky, could you pick a number, please, from 1 to 6?
4.
Vicky goes with a 4. David Sheward, what number have you chosen for you?
3.
3. David with a 3. I'm going to roll the die. So we get the number 5. So the 5 is closer to Vicky. Vicky, do you want to go first? Let's for now say first or second.
I'll go first.
Okay, Vicky first. So David Sheward, yeah. If Leslie comes here on time, do you want to be second or third?
I want to be second.
Okay.
Latecomers get what they deserve.
There you go. So here's the deal. You guys know the game. It's 2 points a question. If you get it right, if you don't, the other contestant can steal. And then if there's time, no matter what, whether we have a tie or not, we usually do a tiebreaker. So if you have a pen and paper handy, that's helpful too. And we'll begin. So thank you for coming and playing David Sheward and Vicky Quaddy. And one hopes, Leslie. Here we go. The first question goes to you, Vicky Quaddy. Kind of a long time ago, the year. Oh, and I'm telling the audience, most of these questions are based on events that happened on September 18th in history. September 18th, 95.
Oh.
95 AD.
Way back.
Upon the assassination of Domitian, Nerva became the emperor of Rome. In honor of Nerva, which of these is not true about the nervous system? A, yes, it's that kind of question. A, as we age, our brains shrink by a gram or 2 every year. B, humans use only 10% of our brains. C, contagious behavior like yawning stems from humans having mirror neurons. Or D, 20% of the body's energy goes towards running the brain. Which of these is not actually true?
I'm going to say the 10% of our brain being used is not true.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, it is.
Mickey Quaggy, you are using your noodle. That is correct. I mean, or it's not. Yeah, it was a thing. We always say that. It's not. It was a phrase that someone came up with. It was probably a whole lot more of our brain all the time, or else we'd be collapsed on the floor like jellyfish. So it
Do we
is
know what percentage is being used?
probably not. At any given moment, it could go. Right now, David. Unfortunately, David is now using 97% of his brain.
What did I miss? What did I miss?
Well, we got
Pass out.
David playing the game. Hey, come say hi.
Where's Leslie?
Leslie hasn't logged
I
on
can't.
yet.
I just came from the gym.
You look good.
Your hand looks great.
I can't.
Isn't her wrist gorgeous? Yeah.
Oh my
Beautiful.
God. Can any of you start an IV?
Well, we have an iVicky. Yes, we do.
Ah.
And iVicky has 2 points. She is leading
What
the
happened
game.
to the Leslie Hope
Oh, let me text her real quick. Just,
Brett Summers of.
Do you think that Leslie just wanted to go out winning? Like she won last week. She's like, I'm gonna ghost them. I won. I won.
Maybe she thinks it's 11:15 again, like it was last
Oh boy.
Oh, maybe.
Didn't
So
she send
anyway,
a
I'm
text
just-
acknowledging your text.
Oh, is Vicky looking for the Great Pumpkin?
week. Is that cool? Well, yeah. And she's already doing Holy Ghost Bingo in person on stage.
I saw something.
Well, that starts October 1st.
Sorry.
Right now, we're just doing late night catechism. October 1st, Holy Ghost Bingo. And I will be on stage.
Well, what's the one, Vicky, you put on Facebook that has a new actor? Is that the?
That's late night catechism, but we also have a new actor coming in for Holy Ghost Bingo. Because I have to have multiple. I'm actually out of town the weekend after we open because I've been hired to do Holy Ghost Bingo at 2 different, one's in Chicago and then in Baltimore.
Oh, fabulous.
So, yeah. So starting to pick up some more of those.
Well, that's
That's the ka-ching.
yeah, it is. Okay, David.
Yes.
Yeah, everything. I'm checking your phone here.
Okay. I just heard the ding, and I saw that was your text.
No, and because it's time for your question.
Okay, I'm ready.
We have a question for you, David Sheward. This is 3 clues in the news.
Oh, okay. Oh, that.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Love.
Sometimes I do it, and sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't.
Well, this you might.
That's what she said.
Something in the news, related to something in the news, and remember, it can work like blank word or word blank. So, like, we always give sweet couch vegetable would be potato. Sweet potato, couch potato, potato is a vegetable. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Your clues in the news are total product memory.
Total product memory.
Oh, I know this one. Look.
I'm guessing, well, total product memory. It's probably recall. When you said total, the first thing that came into mind was eclipse, but I'm going to say recall, and maybe something was recalled this week. So recall.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Recall me anytime you can recall me. Yes, David, and there wasn't a recall this week, but there almost. I mean, Gavin Newsom out in California.
Oh, right.
Had the recall election, which he landslide won, but there was that whole thing. So David Sheward, even not knowing that, you got the word. Well done.
I got it too. If you
I
want.
know. I saw you had it. Oh, well, but we have a tie game. I love when that happens. Yay, it's 2-2. And what we're going to do, Leslie's not here. And again, because we're a little pressed for time, and these things tend to go on an hour and a half somehow,
Yeah.
I'm going to move on. Oh, David's like, yeah, we know.
Is David on vacation or is he home?
No,
I'm
you're
home.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. He's in a different angle. Normally we see the plate like the show posters.
the show
right?
posters, yeah. Now it's much more.
There they are.
Lovely.
Yeah. Now David's looking down on us. He's like, yes, it's an hour and a half. But this one will not be, I promise
He's
you.
channeling his mom. It's like Mom would say.
We come to our, what normally would be our third round, but it's going to, Leslie Hoban Blake says, meeting won't launch.
Failure to launch.
Oh.
Failure to launch.
Well, if she comes here, we might throw her a question or two, but we've got a game. And this, oh, wait a minute.
Is she coming? Is she coming in? Come on, Leslie, you can do it.
This will take another 5 minutes, but we're gonna try. Let me remind you that you're watching Dave's Gone By, and we thank our great friends Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway, for being our friends for so many years on the show. Not going to tell you to go there and buy anything, because that would be, selling something. That would be advertising, which we can't do. But
Don't do it.
I will say the Toran family is wonderful over at Hewlett Minuteman Press. I've been using their services for a couple of decades now, so you can choose to go there or not. I would suggest that you do, and that's all
I
I'll
use
say.
Minuteman Press
Subtle.
in Chicago.
Oh, it's
I
a
do.
different franchise. This,
I
please,
know, but
use
they're all
theirs.
different franchises.
Yeah.
But they're good.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, you know how on public television they just mention.
We just, Piper Heidsieck. It happens to be a really good champagne that we're showing really
You
beautifully.
just have to do product placement.
Here's Leslie. She's coming in.
Royal
This is
Viking
my show
cruises
there.
are lovely cruises to
Here.
take.
Right behind you.
Well,
Not
yeah.
now. We'll
Well,
organize
this
it.
is kind of this is a little too advertising-y to know. But Leslie O'Van Blake,
Leslie,
welcome.
hello.
Good
Leslie, pick a,
morning. Hi. Hello. Hi, stranger.
that's Vicky Quaggy, that's David
Look at
Stewart,
the
that's
pumpkin
Leslie Blake.
patch. Look at that. I don't know what
Leslie.
you were talking about, but I have Virgin Atlantic outside my window. It looks like an entire building. It's outside my window in the river, and I'm afraid to go
Oh.
out. I'm
Uh-oh.
afraid to go out because I'm sure they have all the windows open and they're blowing all the COVID air out of the ship. Never mind. It's sitting out there. I'm on the river. It's sitting right
But
next
they all
to
be
the
vaccinated. They may have to be vaccinated to get on the ship.
I don't know if they're getting on, getting off. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's just sitting there for 2 days. Okay, good morning, guys. Sorry
Good
about
morning.
this.
Leslie, pick a number from 1 to 6, please.
Nobody's picked yet?
We have.
Yeah, everybody's-
we've
we're in the
already
middle of
answered
the
your
day.
I
question.
can pick a number that's, okay, 6, please.
6. Okay, Leslie. So you are already in third place, but your number is 6.
Okay,
Um,
I'm in third place.
Well, actually,
No,
you won't,
I know
because we have a
what
tie
you mean.
game.
I know. Did you tell Vicky that I won the last 2 weeks? I want that on record.
I was
Yes,
so
Dr.
thrilled.
Sue.
I'm so proud. Excellent.
No, Dr. Sue never won. I'm sorry. That doesn't count on that.
Ladies are doing
That's
it for
just
themselves.
me. That's just me.
So
can
here's
you
the deal.
see my shirt?
Leslie, I will tell you that. Oh, hello.
Can you read my shirt?
Yeah,
Yes.
Ben, of course.
Do you remember that show?
It was okay. It was cute. It was. They went on.
Okay, I just-
One of those women went on to create.
Mindy Kaling.
Yeah.
Mindy Kaling, I know.
Kaling
I wasn't
became a
sure
big
if
star.
you guys had seen it or not. I should
Yeah.
know better in this crowd. That
And by the
everybody
way,
had seen it. Okay.
Leslie, if I've never said this, nice tits. So okay.
There we go.
Well, in that case, I'm glad I was able to save one of them. I was.
Class all the way.
Yeah, thank you. Whatever happened to class? All right, here's the deal, Leslie. We're in the middle of the game, and we do have a guest coming at 11:15. So I'm gonna
Go.
I'm not gonna
I'm
rush
sorry.
people.
Go.
But here's
go.
the deal. It's your chance now. You're the third question in the
okay.
first round.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This question goes to you, and the date is, remember, September 18th. The date is 1793 for a multiple choice question.
Okay.
On this date, George Washington and 8 other Freemasons laid the cornerstone of what would become the Capitol building. Which of these is true about
My
the
great-grandfather designed that building.
so here we go. This is going to test you, Leslie. Here we go.
Great grand. Oh, okay.
James E. Hoban.
Okay.
He did. So
Yeah.
did he think of the dome thing? He was his whole. Well, here we go.
I don't know. I don't know what part of it he did. Go ahead.
Okay, which of these is true about the Capitol? A, there's a crypt which holds the remains of John Adams, James Madison, and James Monroe.
How disgusting.
They're not smelly anymore. B, the designer of the Capitol's frescoes fell off a scaffold and plunged to his death. C, when it was rebuilt in 1856, the Capitol dome needed 9 million pounds of copper, 3 million more pounds than the original. Or D, the Capitol building has its own subway system.
Which is not true.
Which of these is true?
Oh, the Capitol has its own subway system.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, it was all over the news. I mean, it's not even like my grandfather didn't design the
I
subway.
didn't know that. It's true.
It was on the news.
Wow.
January, January 6th, they talked about getting people out of the
Oh.
Capitol, getting them down to the subway, blah, blah, blah.
You guys know
Yeah,
that one
no.
also? You all knew about the subway?
Did you all?
Well, I knew.
It
Sorry.
made sense to me.
Yeah.
They will not confirm or deny.
I should have sat
That's right.
in between some others.
Who's asking?
That's right. No way.
So here's the deal about some of the other things. The original was a layer of copper over a layer of wood in terms. So the new version used cast iron and not even copper at all. So that was not
Everyone
true.
knows that, David.
I know. And then what else? A crypt. By the way, there was supposed to be a crypt in the Capitol building that was going to house the bones of George Washington, but he wanted to be buried in Mount Vernon. So that didn't happen, but it was going to.
I believe it's called Burning Mount Vernon.
Burning Vernon.
Burning Mount Vernon.
And, the thing about the guy falling off the scaffold, Constantino Brunidi was old and getting feeble when his chair slipped off a platform. But he actually survived. He caught himself, and he worked a bit more and was still able to work on the Capitol a few times.
He wasn't that old and feeble then, was he, really?
Yeah.
We need WPA. What's up with that?
Right.
Now it's a tie for all of us.
It's a three-way tie as we moved into the second.
Oh, is it? Wow.
Well done. The second round of our Today, Yesterday quiz. This question goes directly to Vicky Quaddy.
Vicky is first. Whoa, whoa.
And do let us know if the Great Pumpkin does come. We've been, waiting.
Was it Linus or which is the one?
Yeah, I have my
Linus.
Oh.
Here we go. 1851 was the year, Vicky. 2 cents will get you the very first edition of the New York Daily Times, which 5 years later would change its name to the New York Times. Nearly 2 decades later, Adolph Oakes bought the Times and came up with the slogan, "All the news that's fit to print."
His slogan was, "I'm not Hitler."
But Oakes was open to other ideas, and he ran a contest offering $100 to the winner who thought of a better slogan.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of suggestions poured in. Which of these was not one of them?
Okay.
A, fresh facts free from filth. B,
Is that a rap?
diligence and decency daily.
Ooh.
C, cleanliness is honesty. Give me a bathtub in the New York Times.
Ooh.
Or D,
And a razor blade.
or D, news, not nausea.
Oh,
Which of these was not an actual suggestion
I'm
sent?
going to say news, not nausea.
News, not
ask
nausea.
him to repeat them several
Was,
times.
was not news, not nausea.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to say that was not.
That was not one of the news, not nausea is.
It's not. That's what she's saying.
I'm guessing.
She's saying the negative.
No, you're wrong, Vicky. That was actually one of the suggestions. News,
Darn it.
not nausea, was
How about
sent in by
All
someone. You can.
Well, now you really need Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh my God.
Here we
Oh.
go. I just rolled a number 2. So here's the deal. 2 is closest to David Sheward. So David,
Okay.
do you want to steal this? I'll read this
Yeah.
again. New York Daily Times turned into the New York Times with Adolph Oakes coming up with the slogan, "All the news that's fit to print." But like a year after he did that, he had a contest for people to come up with a better slogan. Among the entries were these, however, one of these was not. So,
Okay.
was it A, fresh facts free from filth, B, diligence and decency daily, or C, cleanliness is honesty, give me a bathtub in the New York Times?
That has got, the last one sounds so ridiculous. It has to be real. The second one, I bet you looked at these and then you saw the second one, diligence and decency, and said, what if somebody said that, what was it? The first one, something facts and filth, free from filth?
Fresh facts free from filth.
I think that's made up. I think you read diligence and decency daily and said, how about fresh facts free from filth?
Is that your
That's my
final
answer.
answer? Ha! Well, I hate to dish dirt on you, David Short, but that is not correct.
Oh,
Fresh Facts Free from Filth was an actual slogan that
wow.
someone sang in. Vicky Quaggy, you have a 50-50 shot of getting 2 more
Oh,
points
no,
here.
no, no, it's Leslie.
Oh,
Leslie.
forgive me. Leslie Hoban Blake, you have a 50-50 shot on this.
Between the bathtub and
The diligence.
And Decency Daily.
okay. The bathtub is so ridiculous. It should have been sent in by Marat. I don't know if it was.
I get it.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Leslie Peabody.
Mrs., if you don't mind. That is so ridiculous. I'm using David's logic. If it's too ridiculous to be true, then it's probably true. I mean, that's the way we go in this game. So.
Oh, this is Moran, the bathtub.
Oh God.
And I'm Charlotte Corday sneaking up on you with a ballpoint pen.
David thinks that David, our contestant, David overthinks it with deep knowledge. So do not overthink them.
Not necessarily.
These are not overthinkable. Do not overthink them.
That's entirely possible.
Think it with your brain head. Don't
All right. I'm gonna go with the bathtub.
Gonna go with the bathtub. And by the way, when Marat was killed, it would be cool if he wasn't buried in earth, but in the sod. I'm sorry.
Oh, dear.
That's really bad. Leslie Hoban Blake, everybody, mind games on ya. I got you all. The bathtub was real.
Wow. Well, then I was right about that.
Your logic, David, was right, but in reverse. I saw the dirty one, and I went back and I went, let me do a clean one. So that I forgot.
Got us
So
all.
the right answer was diligence. The right answer was diligence.
Right, that's the one that he
Daily
made up.
I came up with. I just made that one up.
I thought I had it right, but I picked the wrong one.
Yeah.
Joyce is giving us the right answer, which is don't overthink these. But
No, I just had to think another step. I just picked wrong.
You're all too smart.
Well, yeah, these are very, very smart people.
For our own, as my mother used to say, for our own good. Yes.
Right.
You all have tall poppy syndrome.
Oh, to explain what that. Have you ever heard that phrase? You tall poppy syndrome.
So it's when it's like most people enjoy mediocre, and when somebody excels and exceeds, they want to chop the head off the tall poppy and then make everybody mediocre. So you're tall poppies.
Lord
So
knows,
are you saying that opium comes only from tall poppies? Is that the idea?
Well, sometimes it comes from mommies. That's how the female opium.
So growing up Dominican, I think it's like tall poppy could be a whole other thing.
Okay.
You're a tall poppy.
Here we go.
Aye, poppy.
Yeah. Let's do that accent, Leslie. Okay, here we go. Middle of the second round.
Was that did you think that was an accent?
Yeah, you were doing it. Hey, let's go, papi. Let's do it. Racist. The Facebook monitors are watching. Oh, he just did something racist. We've got to cancel him.
Oh dear. Okay.
You have bad dialect.
That was cool.
You do bad.
No, that was
dialect.
Chinese.
You cannot do dialect, honey. Or language. Yeah.
Here's this question going to David Sheward in our second round. So, David, you can build on your 2 points.
I thought Vicky was first.
No, I just said that question.
You stole Vicky's question.
That's right.
Didn't get it. And neither did I.
Next show.
Here we go.
Okay.
The year David Sheward was 1899. Scott Joplin applies for and receives a copyright for his popular song, The Maple Leaf Rag. Which of these is not true about maple?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Got it.
Multiple choice, not true about maple. A, the instantly recognizable maple leaf flag of Canada wasn't actually designed until 1964. B, it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. C, not only is it racially questionable, but Aunt Jemima has only 1% of actual maple syrup in it. Or D, in South Korea, there's a tradition of drinking maple sap right out of the tree.
So which of these is not true?
Yes, which of these is not true?
Okay, all right. So I'll try and take the advice of the person and not overthink it.
The
All right.
person.
The person.
The person that I'm married to, yes.
Yeah.
Hi, person.
Oh, I thought she said that she was reading that from like someone who was writing, who was like commenting on it.
Wait, now I'm lost.
Read it
What?
again, David. Read it again
You mean
slowly.
the questions again?
No, I thought that Joyce.
David, just answer the question.
Okay, I thought Joyce was saying the thing about overthinking was coming from a viewer or something.
Oh no, that was from the person.
Oh,
that was
Only.
her personhood.
Oh,
As opposed to her thing, which I also.
I thought she was reading it from the comments.
No,
David, I can't. Tell David I can't read.
Joyce can't read. I've kept her ignorant.
Sorry about that.
She's a short puppy.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I like.
So without overthinking it, okay, without overthinking it. So the choices again are.
I'll read them.
Canadian flag.
Right.
The go ahead. Canadian flag.
Well, the Maple Leaf flag wasn't actually designed until 1964. B, it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup.
Okay.
C, not only is it racially questionable, but Aunt Jemima has only 1% of actual maple syrup in it. Or D, in South Korea, there's a tradition of drinking maple sap right out of the tree.
I'm gonna say okay. I won't overthink it, and I'll just say A. I think the flag has been there for longer than I'll say A. The flag.
David, I'm sorry, there's a flag on that play, but it's not yours. That is not the correct answer. I guess you underthought it.
Yeah.
Let's roll the die. Let's
follow my instincts in the future and not listen to anybody.
Underthought it.
Yeah, I underthought it.
A number 4. I was just thinking that. Vicky Quaggy, I rolled a number 4, which is your number, which means you can steal this question and get 2 points.
I'm saying the answer is Aunt Jemima.
Well, you sound
It's not true.
It's not true. I don't think Aunt Jemima has any maple syrup in it.
Is that your final answer?
It is.
Now, this is going to be racially questionable because I'm going to make believe I'm Aunt Jemima. Well, child, you're right. There ain't no sips at all in Aunt Jemima or Miss Butterworth. All they got is the corn syrup and
it's corn syrup and other stuff.
David, stop. David, please stop.
Yeah, please stop.
Stop.
I would like to present you.
Keep doing it.
We don't want to be part of that.
What, David?
I would like to present you with this Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for 1939.
I ain't birthing no syrups.
Oh God, that was not the same. That was Butterfly McQueen.
Yes, of course it was. I said, well, when you think of Aunt Jemima, it's Butterfly McQueen. It's the same girl.
No.
Hattie
McDaniel.
Heard Aunt Jemima's voice.
Oh, sorry. You're right. Yeah.
Butterfly McQueen had a very high, voice.
I don't know nothing about Mother No Babies.
You're right. That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Hattie McDaniel had a deeper voice, and we sort of think of her as
right.
It came from the Bazoom area down here.
There you go.
Like Aunt Jemima.
Plus, she had a gravitas,
Yes, yeah.
It'd be cool if Aunt Jemima.
That's racist.
It'd be cool if Aunt Jemima was sung by Paul Robeson. It's like, you the best syrups in.
Please stop, David. Please stop. Please.
Next question.
Next question.
Yes.
All right. By the way, Vicky, enjoy.
Congratulations.
So far, your lead because you have 4 points to David's 2 and Leslie's 2. But this next question goes directly to Leslie. So, Leslie, you can tie. Okay? Yeah, Leslie, I'll go and sit. No. The year was 1932. It's a multiple choice. Oh, this is a fun one. The remains of actress.
Well, the others weren't. Thank you. Okay.
No.
No, I'm being ironic here. The remains of actress Peg Entwistle were found today, 2 days after she jumped from the H of the Hollywoodland sign.
Yeah.
Which of these dead performers was not officially ruled a suicide?
Oh.
A. Margot Kidder. B. Vern Troyer. C. Spalding Gray. D. Heath Ledger.
Which was not?
Which of these was not officially ruled a suicide?
That's a good one, David.
Oh, thank you.
Just read the names one more time. I remember
Absolutely.
Vern Troyer and Heath Ledger
A.
and
Margot
Margot
Kidder.
Kidder, and oh, and
Vern
Spalding
Troyer,
Gray. I've got
Spalding
them.
Gray,
I've got them.
Heath
I've
Ledger.
got them.
All
I've
right.
got them.
Got it.
I've got them. I've
Just
got them. I've got them. Just let me think for a second. I'm going to say Vern Troyer.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, yeah.
Look what I'm trying to hit. Oops. There we go.
Probably better than what you do hit.
Well, Leslie, I was hoping you kill on this question, but you did not. That is
Oh,
not
I did not.
correct.
Okay.
His was, well, we'll go. Anyway, we have a steal opportunity. So we're going to roll Mr. Die, and the die said, come on, hello. There we go. It goes to number 1, which is closest to David Seward. David Seward, who was, which of these next performances, I'm sorry, was not officially ruled a suicide.
Was not.
Not officially ruled a suicide. I didn't know. Who was Vern Troyer anyway? But we'll get to that later.
Mini-Me. Vern Troyer was Mini-Me.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. All right. I think Spalding Gray was, because I think he jumped off a ship and he had a history of depression. After that automobile accident he had. I didn't know about Margot Kidder. I know that she died recently. And I think Heath Ledger, it was kind of an overdose and a kind of an accident or something. So I'm going to say Heath Ledger was not officially a suicide.
Okay, let me just, hold on. Let's note this in my ledger that you are correct, David Seward. Yeah, Heath Ledger, accidental, whereas both Margot Kidder and Vern Troyer, Mini-Me, died.
Spalding Gray jumped off the Staten Island ferry, by the way, not a boat, not a ship, the Staten Island ferry.
But I know he was depressed.
Yes.
Oh yeah, well, Gray, yeah, Gray. He had tried to commit suicide a few times over years. He was fucked up. But Troyer
and Heath Ledger died from
yeah.
prescription. Yeah, it was like a prescription.
Yeah, but I thought I thought they ruled it accidental because
it was.
child.
Yeah, it was ruled. I remember
it was just
that.
after a massage or something, or was.
I don't know about that.
Mini-Me and Margot Kidder died of intentional alcohol poisoning. If there is such a, intentional alcohol.
I'm gonna drink myself to death, was what she said.
Like Dylan Thomas, I guess.
Maybe. All right. Well, but the good news, the happy part of all this, is that David Seward gets 2 points. Yeah. So it was worth all those people dying.
That's worse than the Aunt Jemima.
You are on fire this morning.
That's worse than the Aunt Jemima.
David is on fire this morning. Somebody please put him out.
Thank you, Leslie. You missed it. I was talking. I did a whole rant about how I don't like matches. So for me to be on fire is a weird thing. Anywho, we have a question that now. Oh, this is the beginning of the 3rd round. Ooh!
No, I get a question. Oh no, I got a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that was my question.
That was the suicide.
Right, I fucked it. Yes, it's my question. Okay.
So we move into the 3rd round of our Today, Yesterday quiz here on Dave's Gone By. Remember, folks, that all these questions, well, except the next one, have to do with things that happened on this date in history. Vicky gets the next question directly, but it is a 3 clues in the news question. So Vicky, you know how this works. These 3 words are related.
The news coming right at you.
3 clues in the news coming right at you. Yeah, everyone remembers that.
Clues just for you.
Oh, that's. Oh, I thought you were going to.
Yeah, I can't think of the rest of it because it's about the Newzoo Review.
Yeah, but yeah.
Is that Blue's Clues?
No, you don't remember the Newzoo Review?
Newzoo Review.
Oh yes, of course. I'm sorry. I got Blue's Clues stuck in my head for some reason. Yes, I do.
And I was, every time that show came on, I would duck because I knew they're coming right at me. Anywho, sorry. 3 clues in the news, Vicky Quaddy. These are 3 words that are not related to each other, but related to another word of something that's in the news.
Okay.
Jungle, rat, teacher.
Oh. Jungle rat. teacher.
Is it David? Is it? No, okay.
I had the other one. Jungle. I'm thinking like Jungle Boogie, Jungle Fever, but then Rat Fever doesn't make any sense.
What about the jungle fever? No.
God help us. God help us. Somebody help us.
Rat and teacher. God, I am blanking. Jungle. I don't know.
If you don't know an answer, just advertise one of your shows.
Holy Ghost Bingo.
Yeah.
Holy Ghost Rat.
Everybody's website.
Holy Ghost Bingo. That's my answer.
Is that your final answer, Vicky?
Yes, of course.
Okay. That is correct. No, it's not. It's,
How did I get it?
let's roll that die and see what it comes up with. To do is gives me, come on. What's wrong with this damn? Okay, it came up with a number 4. The number 4 is Vicky, but it's closest to David Sheward. So, David Sheward, you get to steal.
All right.
The words are jungle,
Jungle
rat, teacher.
teacher. Well, I'm a teacher, so I should know this. And it's not a student rat. It's someone learning how to be a rat. Rat race. Oh, brother rat. Rat bastard. Rat race. Rat trap. Teacher trap. Oh, no. Parent teacher trap, but not teacher trap. There's the parent trap. And what was in the news that would all fit with? Teacher. Jungle fever. Teacher fever. Jungle Bill. Jungle. Jim. I'm going to say Jim.
Is that your final answer?
Yes. GYM. Jim.
Well, we try and be a little high-toned, and we prefer to call it James. But David, sure, you got it, man. David,
Really?
Jim, because Jungle Jim, a gym rat, and a gym teacher, and we all.
Wow.
And
That's
Got it. Got it. Yes.
Is it in the news because everybody has to goes back to the gym, has to show their vaccination cards?
No, actually, I wasn't thinking of that. It was all these gymnasts from the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, we're going up against Larry
Good
Nasser.
job, David. I couldn't figure that out at all.
This is why you have to sound it out and think about it. And
Yeah.
So.
And this is why David, who has fallen down on the job the last couple of weeks, I'm sorry to say,
Oh, he has to throw that in. Oh.
has come back strong in this episode, because look at that face. He is now leading you guys
You're
6 to.
supposed to say from rap, don't call it a comeback. I've been
Don't
here
call it a
for-
comeback.
I've
He's been here
for
before.
years.
Yeah. David Sheward, taking the mantle.
They had faces then.
But the
You
game.
have to pull back and do it like this, That's the way you do that one.
Here we go, because now it's a.
What have they got nowadays? Bunch of nobodies.
Right.
But it won't matter because David has 6, right? So he's
Yeah, 6.
already won.
It's 6.
No. This could go either way. It can still come and be a tie, or Leslie. I mean, it's.
I only have 2, so it can. Does Vicky have 6 also?
I have 4.
He has 4.
So I'm the last one, right?
Yes, but Leslie, if let's say you steal the
Well, we
next
have 2 more
question,
questions.
it would be a 3-way tie.
Oh, I'm stealing. It's a steal. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Or actually, one of those
I'm not
questions goes
stealing.
back to you anyway.
No, I'm not stealing. David gets the next question, right?
But if you get it right,
Maybe.
and then you get the tie.
I see what you're saying. I can't think that far ahead. That's why I
If you
can't
get
play
it- if
chess.
You get it right.
I
Alright.
can't play chess.
We're all in the game.
Yes, still. However, this question could kind of put Leslie out of commission if David gets this right. So, are you
That's
ready?
what I thought. That's what I thought just happened.
But no, but I,
Oh, it's my
Sorry.
turn. Okay.
yeah,
it's
it's your turn,
my
David.
turn.
So this one could kind of put the game away.
Got it.
Let's give it to David Sheward, though. Here we
got
go. The year, a lot of pressure on you, David, right now.
Okay.
So take a breath. September 18th, 1922.
Mhm.
Despite being ruled by a dictatorial king, Hungary joins the League of Nations today, and they'd stick with it until 1939. Which of these is not true about Hungary?
Uh.
A. After World War II, Hungary's currency, the pengo, was so devalued the bank actually printed single bills worth 1 quintillion pengos. B. The word coach derives from a Hungarian town that was the first to manufacture horse-drawn coaches. C. If you make a toast in Hungary, it is traditional to clink twice, once for the Danube and once for the Tisla River. Neglecting to do so is considered bad luck and could cause the rivers to dry up.
Wow.
Or D, if you're having a baby, you have to choose your baby's name from an approved list of names or ask permission from the government for something else.
Which is
One
not
of these is not
It's not
true.
true.
All the rest are true. One is not.
I'm going to overthink this a little. Okay, since it's a dictatorship practically now with this Oban character, or whatever, however you pronounce it, I believe the thing about the list of names. So the others are, at one point after World War II, at one point the currency was so devalued, they had a 1 quintillion note thing.
No, right?
Okay, that's so crazy, it's true. The other was you have to clink your glasses twice. And the other one, which is not true. Okay, which is not
true.
Okay,
And the
so
word coach
I think and the word coach was what?
derives from a Hungarian town that was the first to manufacture horse-drawn coaches.
So which is not true. I believe the last one is true. The 1 quintillion note, that's crazy enough to be true. The coach thing is mundane enough to be false. And the clinking glass one is not very exciting, so that could be. I'll say the clinking glass one sounds so true. I'm going to say it's false, so I'm going to say the clinking the glasses.
So
is not true.
It's not true. Clinking glasses
The glass one is not true.
A toast to you. That says, David Sheward, you thought it, and maybe you overthought it, but you got it right. That was exactly you. You're getting my psychology, David Sheward. You get 2 points on that. Here's the deal. I'll explain some of this. The wheelwrights in Koch, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, or
okay?
Koch, it was probably Koch.
Are you okay?
Koch, Hungary, put steel spring suspensions on their horse-drawn carriages, which make it very comfortable to seat passengers. First time anybody did that.
Yeah.
It is considered bad form to clink glasses in Hungary, because it was based on an old story that when Hungary lost to the Habsburgs, 13 generals were captured, and the Austrians clinked their glasses when each one was shot. So you're not supposed to clink here at all, let alone you got to clink twice for the rivers. So, but well done. I made up that whole.
Do you remember my friend in high school was a Hungarian. Her mom and dad were right from Hungary.
Yeah.
And we were in Queens, and we saw a hearse, and she told me you should be happy when you see a hearse. It's a Hungarian expression that when you see a hearse, you're happy. And I said, why? She said, because you're not in it.
Of course,
She taught me all about
It's like reading the obits. But you know, that last one about the names was true in France for many thousands of years.
Yeah.
You could only use approved saints' names and whatnot. You couldn't. That's why you have so many Maries and Jeans.
So no Shlomos in France.
Well, only the ones in slow motion. I'm sorry. That's terrible. That's horrible. Okay, we have one more question though in our round. Although I think kind of David put this.
Why bother?
Well,
Oh, come on, Leslie.
just for poops and giggles.
Okay, fine. I will take it.
For fun.
I'll take one for the team. Go ahead.
For fun.
That's what she said.
Simone Biles and be as fair.
That's right. Don't get the twisties on this.
Be a good sport. Everyone has to be fair.
Although David, I think.
All right. Thank you,
Well, we know
Joyce.
David won. Fine.
Like millennials, every post-millennials, everybody wins.
That's right. You all get a certificate
Everybody wins.
just for playing.
Gold stars for everybody.
1947, Leslie Hoban Blake, was the year. Established by President Truman, the CIA opens to gather intelligence around the world, according to Reader's Digest, which is not true about our intelligence agencies.
You're using Reader's Digest to get your facts?
I assume they check more than Wiki.
I wondered that too.
Here we go. Well, this is saying maybe it's wrong, but at least according to Reader's Digest, then
Oh, yes, exactly.
Must be
You
true.
say, like on Hollywood Squares, according to blah, blah.
Yeah.
There we go. So, Brett Summers, this is for you. A, which of these is not true? A, late in his career, J. Edgar Hoover became so paranoid he arranged to have himself spied on, all the better to foil betrayers and assassination attempts. B, the CIA spent $20 million surgically implanting surveillance equipment into cats, only to scrap the project when the first cat ran into the street and was killed by a taxi. C, I love that. I may have made that up because I love it. Or C, baristas at the Starbucks in the CIA headquarters in Virginia aren't allowed to put names on the coffee orders. Or D, 1956 British movie adaptation of George Orwell's 1984 was secretly funded by the CIA.
Which is not
One
true.
of these is not true. Only one of these is not true.
CIA, coffee cups, cats, and surveilling himself, right?
Yes.
And 1984.
Yeah. Oh, the movie.
I thought I said that. Okay. I don't know. That would make 5 if I didn't say it. All right. I'm going to say $20 million on cats. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't keep that one together.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
You know, if Cameron McIntosh can spend $20 million on cats, why couldn't the CIA? Except they didn't. That is not the correct answer, Leslie. They really did, and it really got run over. And then, yes, they really did. So let's roll the die. Thank you very much. It comes up. They never get to high numbers. You ever notice on this? It's a number 3. So, David Sheward, you get to rewin the game.
All right.
If you can steal this question, which of these is not true about our intelligence agencies?
So I have 8 points so far, or 6?
You have 8.
8.
David, 8. Okay. He just wants to hear us say it. You have 8 points, David. 8.
8.
Count him 8. 8, David.
8.
Just call me Dr. Octopus.
Right.
8. Let's sing a song.
That's Dr. Sue's cousin, Dr. Octopus.
The number is right behind Dave's head, right there.
Well, okay.
Number 8.
All right. So the remaining are the barista.
Right. Late in his career, J. Edgar Hoover became so paranoid he arranged to have himself spied on. Baristas at Starbucks not putting names on the cups, or a 1956 British movie adaptation of Orwell's 84 was actually funded by the CIA.
With Edmund O'Brien and Michael Redgrave. I think that the J. Edgar Hoover and the coffee cup sounds real, so I'm going to say the 1984 answer.
Is not true.
Is not true.
Big Brother is watching you, and he disapproves of that answer. So, Vicky Quaggy.
Really? Wow.
Steely. Yeah. Yep. As a matter of fact, I will. Yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm just going to answer it because I know we're pressed for time. I'm going to say it's the Starbucks because I'm not sure there is a Starbucks in the building.
Is that your final answer?
It is.
Amazingly enough, I've stumped the panel once again. J. Edgar Hoover was actually, he didn't want to spy on himself. Other people at the CIA and FBI were spying on him because he was going nuts. Oh. And he actually he ended up knowing about it and kind of accepting it, but he never had himself spied on or followed.
Oh,
so does there exist tape of him wearing a dress? That's what I wonder.
I wonder.
That cute little black number that they found in his closet. Did they ever see it on him?
Someone must have that picture.
I think there are people that are witnesses. There are people.
Yeah.
By the way, wanted to let you know. Yeah.
They say he looked like Aunt Bee from the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh,
yes.
Boy.
Yeah. The people who spied on him it was called Who Watch, which I think is kind of cool. Who Watch.
Cool. Yeah.
And not only was that film of 1984 secretly financed by the CIA, but a 1954 animated Animal Farm was also funded by the CIA.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Honestly,
Because they were anti-Russian, basically.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
both very
Both
anti-totalitarian.
were anti-communist.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I
Let's
meant
do-
communist. I said Russian, but it was the same
let's
difference
do-
back then.
Well,
Let's do the
congratulations
question.
to David Sheward. David Sheward got the won the game.
One fair and square.
So we have time for a very
I like the way you say that. Fair and square. All right.
One more question, our tiebreaker for our panel, our wonderful panel. The year was 1916. Released today in England is the docudrama Disraeli, about British statesman and Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli. After enjoying stage success as the character in 1921, this actor made another film bio of Disraeli and
But is this
another
the
one.
They write?
Huh? Yes, this is the one where they
Say it
write.
again, I'm sorry.
They know. After enjoying stage success as the character in 1921, this actor made another film bio of Disraeli and yet another one in 1929, for which he won an Oscar. Name that actor whose last name is the same as the title character of an HBO sitcom about a sports agent.
Ugh.
You ready?
Oh, are you guys? Wow, I think, well, Vicky's thinking. David, I think, was jotting down
Was it
immediately.
Lin-Manuel Noriega?
It's not Lin-Manuel Noriega.
Okay.
So,
I just watched this movie about 4 weeks ago.
oh, really? Oh, okay. Wow, what made you watch this movie about?
Leslie is preparing for the.
I'll tell. Yes, I was doing research. No, I'll tell you in a minute
Okay,
why
Well,
I watched it.
Vicky, are you ready, or are you still thinking?
No,
Or
I'm fine.
Somebody,
okay,
Richard Goldklein said, love his vacuum cleaners.
Hoover. Dang it.
Hoover.
I'm going to read the question one more time, and then you'll hold up your answers on 1, 2, 3. Released today is the docudrama Disraeli back in 1916 about Benjamin Disraeli. After enjoying stage success as the character, this actor made a film in 1921 and then another one, a sound one, in 1929, and won the Oscar. Name the actor whose name is the same as the title character of an HBO sitcom about a sports agent. 3, 2, 1. Let's see those answers. Wow. And Vicky, I can't see yours, Vicky, so you can make up what it is.
Enjoying you all.
Oh. David Sheward, Leslie Hoban Blake, you got that right. It was Arliss. Yeah.
So his name was George Arliss, and he looked like a living version of Mr. Ratburn on Arthur. How did this man have a career as a leading man?
I know, he's like,
I never understood that. He was never attractive. I mean, he was a wonderful actor. And I don't, but he was one of the strangest looking dudes.
he was. Apparently, he was hung like a moose. So ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say,
Well, that explains it.
everybody in Chicago, go see Late Night Catechism at the Royal. Is it the Royal George?
No, it's the Greenhouse Theater Center. The Royal George is gone.
Oh,
The
the
Greenhouse
It's
Theater
next
Center.
door to the Royal George, though, right? He was close.
Oh, it's a few
Nunsforfun.com.
blocks away.
As my wife reminded me, nunsforfun.com is the
It's in
website,
chat,
right?
It's in the chat.
Is in the chat on our Facebook page, Nuns for Fun for Vicky Quaggy's show. And then, of course, they're already pre-booking for October 1st when the Holy Ghost Bingo starts in Chicago as well.
Right.
Leslie Hoban Blake is the co-host of the video podcast Critic Circle with Charlie Gross on the YouTube Critic Circle channel. And David Sheward, of course, writer of the blog The David Desk, as well as for culturaldaily.com and theaterlife.com. Check them all out.
I know we have to hurry, but we just did an interview with Robert Duback, and it's
Oh.
posted on YouTube. He's
All
a
right,
lovely
so
man.
neighborhood. Robert Duback
Yes.
is doing,
Yes.
what's the name of the show?
The Book of Moron.
Book of
Book
Moron.
of Moron.
Well, no morons in this room. You're all great. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, David.
Thank you.
Nice job,
Congratulations,
David.
Leslie, on your previous wins.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And Vicky, you've won one of these, haven't you?
Everybody's a winner. I know.
And congratulations, Vicky.
Yeah. Congratulations to all of you. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you so much for being in the neighborhood.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Okay. I'm not taking me out. I almost took me out. That would be wrong.
Oh, look, I'm left. I'm still here. Oh.
Bye, Leslie. And Coming up in a moment, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches, talks with Ben Sidran.
They got a song for winners. They got a song for those who lose. I got a song for dealers, yes. They got a song for those who use. They got a song for beggars. A song for those who choose. But baby, they don't have a song for a sucker like you.
Oh yeah, digging that jazzy sound there of Ben Sidran, or maybe I'll call you Benjamin. Let's see how we get along. Ben Sidran in the neighborhood. You gotta unmute your microphone while I tell people about this man, author of a book called There Was a Fire. Jews, that's me, Music and the American Dream has just been revised and re-released there. He is a Grammy-nominated musician, was worked with the likes of Diana Ross and Van Morrison. He was an early person, maybe, I don't know if you're a founder or an early person with the Steve Miller Band, the Space Cowboy guy, you're looking at him. He also worked with John Hendricks, and he scored that award-winning movie that Siskel and Ebert loved, Hoop Dreams, about the basketball people. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to the neighborhood, Ben Sidran. Shalom!
Shalom, Rabbi. How are you?
Prostate, all sorts of problems, but I live. How are you? You're looking great. How are you? How are you healthy?
I'm good. The back, it hurts a little bit, but otherwise, I make a living. What can I tell you?
Thank God you make it. Is there a thing, you're mostly a piano person, even though you're a multi-instrumentalist. Over the years, do pianists have back things because they're always on that bench and there's no back on that thing? Are they prone to an ailment?
Well, maybe so. You know, carrying a piano is not an easy thing. It takes a whole band. This is how bands got started, to carry the piano.
That's right. And the hard part is you're holding this thing, and then you got to get in the doorway. You have to look for the keys.
The keys, you need the keys. That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
I'll take that note. All right, enough of this. So Mazel Tov on the reissue of the book. Tell me, what did you learn about Jews in the time from when you first did the book to now?
Well, the thing, the book is about how Jews affected popular music in America, and it focuses on the 20th century, of course, because that's when the Jews came. And the first question is, what is Jewish music? Because Jews can play any kind of music. It's not music played by Jews. It's not music played for Jews. Hard to answer. Maybe can't answer. It's like the question, who is a Jew? What is a Jew? Well, you're a Jew. I'm a Jew.
You're both of us, I think, yes.
But is a Jew, is it an ethnicity? Is it a religion? You can't answer these questions. So it comes down
to your topping, quite honestly, but yes.
Here's what I learned. I learned that in the end, it's a story. It's a narrative. You know, if God is just a story, I don't know, but I'm saying if it's a story, then we worship a story. And that the Jews had one of the most powerful original stories. And so the Jewish music is a way to instill in our memories the ideas of social justice and tikkun olam. That comes from something that's inherent in the music. And even if the people who make the music aren't aware of it and don't care about it, it still goes forward because of this special narrative, this story that we keep with us. That's what I learned.
Wow, you've just emerged from the bat cave there. I don't know what's happening with your camera. That's interesting. You've got a glow. Just talking about Yiddishkeit, you have a glow about your head that's beautiful.
Damn.
We're talking with Ben Sitter. So how does a nice Jewish boy like you wind up in a billion-seller rock band co-writing a song like Space Cowboy? How did you go from being a nice little Jewish boy to, the road and rock and sex and things?
Well, it's sex and things. It's more of a mystery how a nice Jewish boy wound up thinking about Jewish things at the end of his life than being in a rock band. I did my best to avoid the Jews and the organized Jews. After my bar mitzvah,
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
after my bar mitzvah, I fell in love with music and I pursued it, particularly jazz. And then I went to college. And at college, I met Steve Miller and Boz Scaggs, these two friends from Texas, and we formed a little band called the Ardells. And I went off to England to go to graduate school. These two guys went to San Francisco and turned into rock and roll stars. And lo and behold, they came to England where I was in graduate school to make a recording, and I fell in with them. And that's how I got into Space Cowboy. I wrote Space Cowboy with Steve.
You know what I love about this man right now? I was watching this thing about rap stars, and this girl was like, "Oh, I want to be a rapper. I'm giving everything else. I'm not going to college. I'm dropping out of this. This is my focus. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to do this." You were in a super duper rock band, and you still got your PhD.
I didn't want to
Why can't you do this?
I didn't want to be a star. I didn't want to be a musician. I wanted to be a teacher. I'm a failed college professor. I couldn't get arrested. I couldn't get a job. You too. See, it's endemic. And so it was, people ask me, so how do you do what you did? And I say, you have to fail at something first. It's the most important thing is to fail and then recover.
Oh, recover. That's the part I always, the recovery part.
The recovery part. I forgot the recovery.
Now, you have had the chance over the years, though, to teach. You've taught at universities and you've lectured and have you taught actual courses? Have you been on faculty at places?
Yes, and in fact, the book "There Was a Fire: Jews, Music, and the American Dream" came out of. I was the artist in residence at the University of Wisconsin, but I taught, and I wanted to teach. The idea was okay. So the Jews, they've never been more than 2% of the population. It looks like they got 80, 90% of the music business. How is this even possible? What does this tell us? And it doesn't do any good to say, well, there are a lot of Jewish people, because so what? So I was looking for books in order to teach this course, which was going to be Irving Berlin to the Beastie Boys. That was the subtitle, right?
Yeah.
And there were books that talked about Jewish song publishers and other books about music, and a great book here on George Gershwin and a great one there on something else, but not one book that covered the history with the hustlers and the musicians and the lawyers and the whole thing. So that's how I set off to write the book, because I taught the course and there wasn't one book.
Now, when you finally got to and be on faculty, was being a college professor everything you was cracked up to be? It was the thing you aspired to? Or did you suddenly, oh shit, I got a great 30 papers tonight?
Rabbi, that is the greatest question, because my whole life I considered myself a failed professor. Here I am, the Space Cowboy, but I was still a failed professor. And when I finally got into the university system and was teaching and had an office and had students and papers, it was nothing like I thought, because back when I was in college in the 60s, because I'm old, it was a wonderful thing. I mean, you respected the teachers and you tried real hard. And if you didn't do well, so you didn't do well. Now, college students are consumers. They pay a lot of money. They have big loans and they want A's and they don't want B's. And a C is like a failure. And so I had kids.
It's extremely difficult to write music without those notes. You just have D through F and the sharps and flats, and then you're missing like half the scale. It's terrible.
Right. So how can you do it with just an A? That's a good point. I never thought of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Sorry, I did.
No, it was good. The fact is, no, it wasn't everything I had hoped for it. And I was so grateful that I was a musician in the end, that I didn't have to do that.
Now, speaking of your being a musician, I have to. One of the things that we love on this show is anecdotes and stories, and not just the negative, but not to talk smack about, as you music people would call heroin, not just to talk bad about it, but even good stories and happy, fun, loving stories. So we have to start with. I didn't realize that you played at one point with the Stones, and that
Well,
you met Charlie. Charlie Watts, the late Charlie Watts.
The late Charlie, what a sweet man. Yes. So I was living in England, and I was living in the south of England, in Brighton, where the University of Sussex is, where I went to school. And because Steve had come over and made a recording there, I met a super engineer producer named Glyn Johns, very famous guy.
Yeah.
So Glyn was also recording and producing the Rolling Stones. And one day, I mean, he would call me to London from time to time to do recording sessions because he knew I could play a little bit. I had been with Miller. One day, I get a call from him. He said, "Look, and Charlie Watts lives near Brighton, or did at the time." He called me up. He said, "Look, Charlie doesn't drive. Can you stop at his house? I'll give you the address. Pick him up, bring him to the recording studio, and you'll play a little bit with these guys." So I got a car. I drive to Charlie's house. It's this huge Tudor place out in the country. I knock on the door. The door opens. There's the face, the Charlie Watts face.
Right.
And in the background, I'm hearing Miles Davis. Very nice. I say, "Charlie, I'm so happy you're listening to Miles Davis because I have to tell you the truth. I don't listen to the Stones very much." And he says,
Why would you tell a Rolling Stone that you don't listen to their music very much? What was in your? You're so Jewish. Why would you tell him the one thing that you wouldn't want to hear? What's the matter with you? Anyway,
I never thought of that. I don't know. He's listening to Miles Davis. I'm listening to Miles Davis. But he says to
Harper
me,
Lee. Oh, Harper Lee. You know, like To Kill a Mockingbird, not my favorite book, but
Not my-
it's so good.
"Nice to meet you." But he says to me, "That's all right, mate. Neither do we." So right away, we fall in and we drive the hour and a half to London in the car, and we're talking all about jazz and jazz. He's a huge jazz fan, and we became thick as thieves. And we get into the studio, and there's Mick Jagger sitting at a piano playing a lovely ballad. And I said to him, "Mick, nice to meet you. Is that the song we're going to work on tonight?" He said, "No, mate, it's just something I'm fooling around with." And the next thing you know, we're all lined up. With Bill Wyman was there, and Keith Richards, and the guys, and I'm at the end of the line with a Wurlitzer piano, and Mick Jagger is dancing around in front of us, conducting on 3 stupid chords that went on for 7 hours. I never did know what it was or what it was going to be, but at the end, a guy came out with a briefcase and handed me money. It was fantastic.
So, did you ever remember like the ballad that Mick was playing at the piano, and then did that turn into Moonlight Mile or something, or did?
No. You know, I think what it was is Mick was a decent musician, and he was just sitting there waiting for the session to start, and was just fooling around with something. The thing that the whole experience taught me was that rock and roll is a pose. It's an act. You know, the Rolling Stones were not street fighting men. They, you know, Mick was an economist. Charlie was, you know, a gentleman. That, unlike the music that I fell in love with in the 60s, which was jazz and rhythm and blues, which was very authentic. It came from real people in real places. Rock and roll, including Steve Miller and the Space Cowboy, it's just a pose. It's an act. It's a pose.
But I want you. I know I'm harping on this, but I want you to put us in this room because it's history. It's just, how did like Mick and Keith get along? How did they all? What era was this? Like mid '70s? When were you?
This was 1969.
God.
Yeah.
So this is Beggar's Banquet era, leading to Let It Be. Brian.
Sympathy for the Devil.
Wow.
It was Beggar's Banquet. Yes.
Wow, I was pushing it more into like the.
Brian was in the room. Brian was.
Oh, was he doing anything? Was he gone?
No, he's playing.
Oh, okay. And was he relating to people, or was he just so?
No. Everybody, I'm telling you, it was just normal. It's not wild. You know, I'll tell you another thing too. Years later, I don't know when this was. This is probably in the 80s or 90s. I was in New York, and Charlie and I had been, friends and seeing each other from time to time in different places. And the Stones were rehearsing. They were, Wyman had left the band. Bill Wyman had left the band, and they were auditioning different bass players. And I came back to the hotel, and my son, who was like 13 or 14 at the time, said, "Oh, well, when you were out, Charlie Watts called. He's in town, and they're rehearsing at Studio Instrument Rentals or whatever it is, and he invited us down. Can we go?" I said, "Sure." So I went down, and there's a big room with the Stones set up at one end, and they're auditioning bass players. And there's a nice couch about 15 feet from the stage with some treats in front of it. And all the guys, they're very nice. "Ah, Ben, nice to see you. Come on in, sit down. Oh, Leo, it's my son's name. Leo, nice to meet you." They're just gentlemen. They really are. I mean, I know one of them is a drug addict, another one of them is a billionaire playboy and all this stuff. But at heart, they're just really smart, normal people.
This is so good. So now, taking that in mind, for someone whom we have heard lovely things about and really not so lovely things about just to deal with, and someone that you have worked with, at least on several sessions, Van Morrison. Now, we've had Richard Davis on the show, trying to remember the Astral Weeks era and other people who've worked with Van. What was the piano guy? Yeah, Richard, he was on a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Richard's my friend. We live in Madison, Wisconsin together.
Oh, McMaster, is he doing okay? He's like 90 something now. He's
in an assisted living place, yeah.
Well, he was lovely on the show, so it was so great to talk to him.
He told me once Van never talked to him on that session.
So how was Van Morrison for you?
Interesting. Let me put it this way. He's obviously a very troubled guy, but he's a guy who lives on the rim of a well. He could fall either way, but he's absolutely in that moment. So when we recorded the music of Mose Allison because he was a big fan of Mose, and I was Mose Allison's producer, so I had all the Mose secrets. And so the first song, normally when you go in the studio, you do a take, you do another take, you think, you talk, you say, okay, this time you do this, I'll do that. With Van Morrison, what you do is what you get. So the first song, he calls the song, he says, Georgie Fame was on the session. "Georgie, you sing this one." He's playing harmonica, he's over there, the band is all set up. We play it. And then next thing I know, he says, "Next song." I go, "That's it? That's it." So Van, the first thing to know about him is he's absolutely serious. This is not a pose at all. Okay. Van is an authentic character who's totally in love with the music he first heard when he was a kid. He refers to it as being a corner boy. He said when he was a kid, 13, 14 years old, he would go out on the corner and sing with his friends. And he's still trying to get back to that feeling. And this is very typical of pop musicians, rock musicians. They can be very smart, but they're not educated. And so they tend to go in strange directions. And particularly somebody like Van or Steve Miller, for example, they're born with this huge gift. And they don't know how they got it. And they're afraid it could go away a lot of times. And so when you get in a room with them, sometimes when they're nervous or insecure, they start dissembling, they start causing chaos to keep the attention away from them. And this is why you'll see Van sometimes on stage stopping the band and carrying on. He's not feeling good. It's him. It's not the band probably. It's him. Oh. So that's why he can be a problem. But I went in as Mose Allison's producer, and he loves Mose Allison. So I got a pass, and we had a very, very nice experience.
How was your experience with Diana Ross?
That was okay also, I'll tell you, because we were making a jazz record, and Diana is a big jazz fan, and when she was out in public, is my image going brighter and brighter?
Well, I want to get your head. So sometimes your head's sort of like this, and then sometimes like this, but then it's shadow and light. So now you're sort of shadowed.
I'm going to stay just like this now.
That's all right. You're a little dark, but it's okay. It makes me feel woke talking to
Whoa.
you. This is good. All right.
So we're making a jazz record, and when she's in public, she is Miss Ross. She's Miss Ross to everybody. She's 7 feet tall. I saw Miss Ross walk into a studio and take this, God knows what exotic animal her coat was made out of, and throw it off her shoulders, and it never hit the floor. She knew somebody was behind her, was going to catch it. She's Miss Ross. But one on one, she's this 5'4", sweet little person who loves what she loves, was funny, who was very respectful to all the jazz musicians. My goodness, she was just, she would sit and, have a smoke with the guys. And once when we were mixing the record in California, I mean, this is a woman who has a place in Connecticut in a Rolls Royce, and she shows up at the studio in California with the Rolls Royce with Connecticut plates. I never did figure out how the car got to California. She certainly did not drive it.
She hired 5 people to carry
5 people like a
Yes.
litter. She comes in, she sits there, she takes out a flask with some brandy in it, she passes it around. She was fabulous. I really came out with a lot of respect for her.
Is there somebody that you would never, and if they're alive, I can understand if you wouldn't say their name, but someone you worked with and you would, I never touch them again, never work with them again?
Ricky Lee Jones. Ricky Lee Jones is not a nice person.
Wow. Well, Lucky Tom waits to get away from her, but what did she do to you?
She's a damaged person. It's a story I can tell you. She's a damaged person. She hired me to produce a jazz record. I flew out to Portland where she lived. We got together. We went through the material. We agreed to meet in New York in a month to make the record. We met in New York. She showed up 3 hours late. I had Richard Davis on the session. I had Buddy Montgomery on the session. I had John Pizzarella. These are great jazz musicians. She had told me she wanted real jazz musicians, not kids, right? She comes in, she looks like she's hungover, but she doesn't drink apparently. Maybe it's a dry drunk. I don't know. She was very unpleasant. She walked into the studio, spent 2 minutes, turned around, came up to me, and she said, "These musicians are too old. I want other musicians." And it went downhill from there. She was awful. She was a nightmare. She was.
Oh my goodness! You all got paid, I hope, but that's
That's another story. That's another story that was very interesting because, as a producer, I had a nice fee on the gig, and I did the first part of my job. We were in the studio for a week or something. I survived. I lost the engineer. He walked out on her, and as he walked out the door, he said, "My name is James, not Hey You," and he slammed the door. So we were supposed to meet up again in a month. I come back in a month.
You came back from more. Well, they were paying you. Okay, yeah. So yeah.
Well, I came back because it's a job. I took the job, and I love the music. And she's a hell of a singer. She's a gorgeous singer, and who wouldn't want to be part of it? Whatever you have to go through.
Because you never know, the album might be legendary, even if the person was and your name is on that album forever. So I get that.
Exactly. So I had a gig. I actually had to go to Hong Kong. So I came back from Hong Kong, and she turned out had taken the tapes and flown to Los Angeles and had hired another producer to finish the record. So I called her manager and I said, "Okay, fair is fair. She can do whatever she wants. It's her record. Just pay me the rest of my fee." He said, "No, she doesn't want to pay you because you only did half of the record." I said, "Well, I'm here to work, and I did. You
showed up. Yeah,
I showed up." So he said, "I'm sorry, she's not going to pay you." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sue her and I'm going to depose her. And guess what? I signed my contract in Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm going to fly. She's going to fly to Madison, Wisconsin to be deposed. And I'm going to call my friends at Rolling Stone magazine to cover the trial because it's going to be very interesting. A lot of people are going to come and talk. And it will. And the manager said, "You're not going to do that." I said, "Oh, yes, I am. I absolutely am. If it costs me $10,000, it'll be worth twice that to see her in the dock." And I got paid.
You got paid. Wow. What about the other music? Was it just you, or did you already gather the other musicians to
But
second?
they all got paid. I
Oh.
mean, the musicians get paid. That's a union thing. She can't screw with them.
Let me ask you, we've gotten so negative, and you're Jewish, I'm Jewish, we understand negative. Tell me your favorite, most beautiful, transcendent moment producing either an album of your own or of another artist.
I mentioned Georgie Fame before. Georgie Fame is a singer from England in the 60s. He had real big hits. He was a pop star before. I mean, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles used to come to his gigs in the 1960, 61, 62. He's very important in England. And he left the fame behind to become a jazz singer because he was very gifted. And I fell in with Georgie Fame in the 80s. I met him on the road somewhere, and I had a little record label of my own. That was interesting. I digress here because I made a record of Jewish music. This is
Yes.
It's called Life's a Lesson, and it's 30 great Jewish jazz musicians, including Carole King is singing with me, and all the Brecker brothers and everybody.
I don't think of her as jazz, Carole King.
Well, no. I get it. But also many jazz musicians. And we're doing the songs of our childhood. We're doing Avinu Malkeinu. We're doing Osei Shalom, Hine Ma Tovu.
Yes.
We're doing the hits, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I've got this record, and I've been in the record business for 40 years at this point, and I know all the executives, and they're all Jewish people. So I think this is a slam dunk. This is a beautiful record, and it was a gorgeous record. And I couldn't get it distributed. None of the executives would put it out because at first I thought, Jews are ashamed. But that wasn't it. They honestly didn't believe it was going to sell. It was a business thing. So in the end, I got distribution by a company in Germany and a company in Japan. The Axis powers.
Yes. It's all guilt.
Of course. So, so where was I?
This was about Georgie Fame, I think. Okay.
How I met Georgie Fame and what I'm doing with Georgie Fame. So I start a record label with my partners in Germany and Japan, and I have this record label, and now I'm going around looking for artists to sign. And I'm in Australia. This is typical of the music business. And I meet Georgie Fame in Australia. And I love Georgie Fame. He's fantastic. I say, can I sign you to my label? He says yes. And 6 months later, we're in a studio in New York with some of the greatest musicians, Steve Gadd on drums, Will Lee on bass, Richard T on keyboards, Robin Ford on guitar. These are the best of the best. And Georgie, he's playing organ and singing. And I knew he was good, but I've never been in a recording session with a musician who, maybe Diana Ross, because the old people back in the day, they would show up, the orchestra would be there, there'd be no whinging and complaining. The conductor would count it off, the orchestra would play, the singer would sing, and that was the record. But since rock and roll, everybody needs only the blue M&Ms. They want the sauna, in between takes. It got really crazy. And to have Georgie Fame walk in the door and give performance after performance, it was like sitting at the greatest gig ever, feeling totally relaxed because nothing could go wrong. These were the greatest musicians with one of the greatest singers. Maybe 12 people heard this record. Doesn't matter. It was the best recording experience I ever had.
Now, I do want to ask you about this. This has always puzzled me about jazz. Jazz continues. People go to jazz clubs. They go to the Blue Note. They go to I don't know the names of the clubs around the country, but okay, they go. But if you ask people about, your average person about jazz, their knowledge and interest kind of stops post Miles Davis and maybe Herbie Hancock. They don't know, like the last, why is that? Who are they missing? Why can't it break through?
Jazz is not for everybody. It really isn't. That's what it turns out. What are all those notes these guys are playing? Are they just playing anything? Why? Where's the melody? Jazz really is not for everybody. It's not made. It wasn't for
No,
everybody.
but at a certain point, people knew who Charlie Parker was, or Ornette Coleman, or Brubeck, of course. Brubeck, ever can kind of listen to. But
Brubeck, of course. Well, listen. So jazz in the 30s was equated with swing music and Benny Goodman, and it was very popular. It was popular music at that point because it was dance music. When jazz became listening music, when they put chairs in the nightclubs and people stopped dancing and started listening, a lot of people were not interested. And we got a lot of critics, and the critics were starting to say, this one's good, this one's bad, and it became harder and harder to work. And the audience for jazz, you mentioned Charlie Parker. When Charlie Parker was alive, again, 12 people knew who he was. When Ornette Coleman was first on the scene in the 60s, he'd play, and the club owners didn't want to hire him because his music was so avant-garde, people wouldn't drink. And jazz music really is about putting butts in the seats and selling alcohol. That's what it was always about. And nobody would drink when Ornette was playing. They'd have a glass of water. So jazz has always been a small percentage of a small percentage. But now we've got 500,000 students of jazz in the United States at college and high school level. There's no work, there's no jobs, but we've got 500,000 young critics getting made.
that's hilarious.
This is all in, by the way, if you forgive me, this is all in the book. All the stories are in the book.
I did read one interview that you gave to somebody, and they asked you these questions about these famous people, and it's like, oh, just read the book. I'm like, that's not why they're interviewing you. They want to sell the book, but tell them a goddamn story. What's the matter with you?
I'm telling.
No, today you're fantastic. Today you're
I'm telling.
wonderful. This is you're just. By the way, we're talking. We should mention again Ben Sidran, SIDRAN, author of that book he was briefly holding up. You can show it again, please. There Was a Fire: Jews, Music, and the American Dream, which is available where everywhere. I don't know where books are sold anymore, but
everywhere. Yeah. I would buy it at Amazon. I don't mind Amazon. I like them. I buy it and it comes the next day. I'm okay with that. But I would also, if you have a neighborhood bookstore, I would go there first. Absolutely.
Nice. Now, can they get it direct? You have a website, bensidran.com. Can they get it there, or do you just point them to Amazon? Or can they?
They can get it there. There's several ways to get it there. One of them is Amazon, and you can get it, which I highly recommend, as an audiobook with me reading, which is infinite.
That's how I'm getting it. I want to read that book now. I really, really, really want to read that book now. So, and I also want to hear more of your music, because you can go on your website and hear some of that. There's an album that you did about a year ago called "Who's That Old Guy Now?" Yes. I like it. There's that Nickelodeon song I really like a lot. Was that on that one?
No. This is an original song, "Who's the Old Guy Now?" Yeah. And it's me. I mean, I woke up one day and there I was. I was the old guy, and it was both sweet to have. I mean, if you're lucky, you get to be an old guy, and it was also kind of startling to realize that I'm not just the last generation. I'm a couple generations back now, and the people that I knew and I loved, as one of the lyrics says, every time you take a look, there's another dead guy in your address book, and this is our lives, man. So I wrote a song about it.
That's right. And let me. I mean, going back to jazz for a little bit, because I should have bracketed this before. You mentioned it would have been a good lead in, but I screwed it up. You mentioned Miles Davis.
Yes.
You interviewed him. You've been a radio host for several years, a lot of stuff on NPR, and you did this enormous show of interviewing jazz people and jazz legends, among them Miles Davis. You say it was actually a very good interview, a pleasant interview. Any memories?
Yeah. Absolutely. I have found, just as an opening to that jazz musicians are some of the sweetest people you'll ever meet, because playing this music is so difficult. And making a living is so difficult that to survive, there's a real spiritual basis. And this is what obviously captured me after my bar mitzvah. Instead of finding spiritual solace in the temple, I found it in jazz because it's there. And Miles, of course, has had this reputation of being evil and cantankerous and racist. my friend, a record producer named Tommy LaPuma, was producing Miles at the time. He was producing a record that was called Tutu, and when it came out, it was a great record, great record. And well, I had met Miles a couple times. I didn't know Miles, and I didn't know how to contact Miles. So I asked Tommy, "Can you hook me up? I would like to do an interview with Miles." He said, "Sure, no problem. Miles is great." I said, "Okay, great." He said, "Just remember one thing. Miles Davis has the greatest bullshit detector in the world. If anybody comes at him with bullshit, he's going to destroy him. But you have nothing to worry about. Just be yourself. It'll be great." So Tommy and I drive out to Miles's house in Malibu, and we knock on the door, and the door opens, and it's like the Charlie Watts story, except the door opens, there's Miles. And he's he looms so large, but he's really not a large person.
Yeah.
And this was 1985, so already he was moving slow, let's say. He throws his arms around my friend Tommy. "Tommy, how are you?" Tommy says, "Miles, this is my friend Ben." Miles throws his arms around me and says, "Ben, please come in. He's cooking lunch." I spent an afternoon at his house laughing, listening to music. It was, I hate to say it, I hate to, my experiences with musicians
Oh,
runs so counter to the mythology that it makes me really wonder how so much of this mythology got written. It reminds me of, if you remember, back in the day, people attributed all this chazarai to John Coltrane. He's a black militant. He's a this. He's a that. I mean, a lot of people. He's making noise. He doesn't like white people. John Coltrane was a musician. He was in love with the music. If you get involved with music, you have a life of following a path that doesn't end, that goes to magical places, that takes you into the deepest, darkest woods. That, jazz musicians, not so much anymore, because now people are learning jazz in colleges. And, if you spend 8 hours a day in a practice room, it's not the same as 8 hours a day on a bus going to Cleveland. But Miles was a gentleman. He was hysterically funny. He told great stories.
Oh, now understand that this is not to discount the people who have bad things. I mean, if you watched, there was a documentary about him, and he probably would have been great had the cops not beaten him up that day. Yeah,
Well, that was, of course.
that messed up his whole personality, and he was abusive not to you. You caught him on a great day. That's wonderful. It doesn't necessarily discount that in other times he was a drug addict.
No.
Yeah.
And musicians like Charles Mingus, for example, could be very volatile, and on the wrong day. I mean, I personally never have experienced reverse racism from jazz musicians. I have never experienced it. My experience is, if you show up, if you've been playing piano, trying to play, doing your best, showing up, being respectful, waiting your turn, no harm, no foul. That's been my experience.
Now, speaking of experiences, also, one of the people that I and the producer of this program, Dave, listened to and loved for many years, you did an album of Bob Dylan songs. Do you have any Bob Dylan personal experiences, or B, how did you come about that album?
The album, again, I never intended to make a Bob Dylan record. That's like a fool's errand, just as a thing. And then a jazz record of Bob Dylan songs. His songs, have 2 or 3 chords in them, and jazz musicians generally want a lot of chords. But I started performing a couple of his songs in my set, particularly in Europe. They liked, what would I do? I do Highway 61. I do Everything Is Broken. Well,
I mean, that has a jazzy feel. Everything Is Broken kind of has a bit of a...
That's okay, a blues song. And I loved Johnny's in the Basement, Mixing Up the Medicine from the 1960s.
Oh, Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Subterranean Homesick, loved it. So I was doing these things. And one thing led to another, and I eventually put together a repertoire of 12 of them, and I had arranged them. And people would always come up to me and say, I love when you do Dylan songs because I can understand the lyrics. When Bob does them, it's hard. Now I know what the song's about. And the song was the record was very successful because all the Bob Dylan fans check out anything that has his name on it. So the record did very well. I do have one Bob Dylan story. This was back in 1974, 75. I think when he was still on hiatus and spending a lot of time in Minneapolis, I think, because his brother David was there. And so I was playing in Minneapolis on a bill with Ry Cooder. Ry Cooder and I were playing in a very nice club. And halfway through, I was on first, I was opening, and then he's coming on next. Halfway through my set, this is very interesting. Bob Dylan walks in. How do you know Bob Dylan walks in? I don't know how I know. I just know. The whole club, it's like electricity goes through the club. And he's sitting way in the back. It's not like I could see him and recognize him, but there he was. So at the end of my set, fool that I was, I walked up to his booth. I know he had listened to my set because he couldn't get away from it. There he is. And I even told some jokes specifically for him.
Well, like what? Do you remember how did you make a pun on one of his titles or something, or what did you do?
Well, what I did was, I remember his manager was Albert Grossman at the time, and I had a bad experience with Grossman.
I don't think you're alone in that, but okay.
Yes. So I referred to Albert Grossman as a man whose last name should have been hyphenated. Not so funny.
You were reaching. Okay.
Okay. I was young. So I go up to him in the booth and I say, Bob, I just wanted to say, so great to see you here and to tell you how important your music has been to me. And he looked at me and he looked like a caged animal. He was hunched in the back of a booth. And he looked at me and he said, and I'll never forget these words. He said, oh, yeah? And that was it. That was my whole experience with Bob Dylan.
All right.
And I got off easy. I got off easy because I have a friend, there's a photographer who worked for Grossman at one point and drove cross country with Dylan, just the two of them from Woodstock to Denver. And I said, what was Bob really like in the car for 3 days? He said, man, you can get the best of Bob Dylan for $4.95 at any record store.
Okay, well, yeah. And man, speaking of people with problems, you get the feeling that, on a good day, he's great, and then the rest of the time, there's just something.
How could he not have problems, man? He's Bob Dylan. I mean, his whole life, he's been this projection of his imagination.
Yeah, but you just said like half an hour ago that you get them into a room and the musicians and they're just down to earth people, even the Rolling Stones.
I said jazz musicians.
No, the Stones. Stones are not Charlie's jazz, but you said Mick and Keith, and they were just regular people too.
Those guys are, but Van Morrison isn't, and Ricky Lee Jones isn't.
Obviously, yeah. She's not even that big a star. With all due respect to Ricky Lee, well, we're not going to give any respect to Ricky Lee Jones because you hate her.
I hate her. I love her voice. I hate her person.
Now, speaking of voice and music and stuff, you did, or at least on your website, it said that you did gigs back in August. You played like 2 gigs in the Minneapolis area. Yeah. How was that? Was it weird being back in front of a crowd after a year and a half? How was it for you?
It was weird because it felt so normal. I was afraid for a year and a half that I'd forget how to do it, that I wouldn't remember the things that worked musically. I hadn't played with other musicians in a year and a half. I was really, I was a little famished. I get there, just like getting back on the bicycle. It was terrific. It was wonderful. I had other gigs that I'm not gonna do because of the variants. I can't.
You were going to do more stuff at the end of this year and 22, and you've decided. But you're back. I assume you're vaxxed, but you're afraid of Delta.
I'm vaxxed, but I like to play in jazz clubs, particularly in Europe. I play in these little caves. I love it. 150 people packed into a dark room, and I'm vaxxed, but I just didn't want to.
No one supports you. I mean, it's a shame, but I get it. Believe me. When you did your gigs, was everybody masked? Were they careful at the Minneapolis place?
I think most people were. I don't think it was required, and they were definitely spaced out. So if the room normally held 250 people, maybe they had 150 people in the room. It felt fine. It did.
Good.
It felt totally fine. It was wonderful to get to play with other musicians. I was in Cleveland last weekend at a jazz festival. I was doing a book reading. I wasn't performing music.
Was it outdoor or indoor? The festival.
Outdoors at a big theater. Wonderful. I had the best time because backstage, hanging with the musicians, talking, laughing, I realized how much I missed this. The reason that the music business has been tolerable or palatable is because the musicians are such interesting people, and they're funny, and they're dedicated, and they're serious, and the thing they're working on is such a complex thing. To play this music, to play this note rather than that note, to do the, they're very interesting people. I've always found them very interesting people, and I didn't realize how much I missed being around musicians until I was in Cleveland this past weekend. I thought, yeah, this is what's been missing the last year and a half. Not the music so much, but the musicians.
And let me also ask you, if you over, let's say, the past 100 years, it could be now or from many decades ago, who would you say is like the most underrated, underknown jazz musician? Like someone who should be up there almost, maybe not that high, as the big greats, but you go a normal person like who?
Well, there's so many of them. Honestly, a normal person doesn't know Miles Davis these days. So,
Well, but
okay.
well,
So, well, let me start by saying every city in the United States had, or maybe still has, if they're lucky, one or two of the greatest musicians who ever lived that nobody knows about. The jazz musicians we know about, we only know about them because they traveled and they recorded. If they had stayed home, and a lot of them did because they had a family, nobody would know about them. I mean, I can tell you that there was a guitar player here in Madison, Wisconsin, where I lived years ago, named Johnny Shacklet. He was as good as Wes Montgomery. Nobody knew Johnny.
did he ever record anywhere? Is there stuff of his?
Maybe he made a couple of records on his own. I don't know where you could find him.
Yeah.
There was a saxophone player up in Minneapolis named Irv Williams. He died a couple of years ago at 99 or 100 years old. Fantastic musician, really. So there's a whole.
Because don't forget, we also live in an era where you can say, "Oh, he made a couple of." Anybody puts those records on Spotify, so anybody can hear them, even if they sold 10 copies. So
But it's the illusion of plenty, and what I mean by that is like Tower Records when they were going, and you'd walk in the store and they had a gazillion records. Yeah, everything was there, but how do you know where to begin? How do you know where to start? So unless you knew to go look for a Mose Allison record, how many people knew who Mose Allison was then? And so Mose Allison sold, again, the same 12 records.
Well, he's known enough that he probably sold 24 records. Yeah,
Yeah.
he has more of a name than the Herb guy. But
Yeah, Irv than nothing. Miles Davis told me that his main influence was a guy named Shorty Baker. Who knows Shorty Baker? There's probably one guy we can put on the list.
just go around looking for short people, and then you find them eventually.
Short people with the white apron and flower on it.
Oh, speaking of interesting people, you are Wisconsinian, I guess, and I'm Madisonian. I've got to ask, have you ever jammed just off the cuff with a guy named Art Paul Schlosser?
I know Art Paul Schlosser.
You know Art Paul Schlosser! I knew it! I knew you had to. Have you ever gone on the street and he's a friend of the neighborhood? He's a friend of the show. He's a really nice guy, but he's Art Paul Schlosser.
Yes, he's a very nice guy, and I've never jammed with him, but I have seen him and I've heard him.
Oh boy! Oh, this is good. This is. I'm just saying, peanut butter sandwich has a possibility as a jazz tune. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay,
It's
right.
one riff. Have a peanut butter sandwich. And you can really go off on all sorts of.
Oh yeah. Oh, you can improvise on that. Absolutely.
There you go. There you go.
Throw in a little jelly, and you got a thing.
This is true. And by the way, we should have mentioned, again, I'm always trying to, I should have mentioned before, you were talking about that guy, Tommy LaPuma?
Tommy LaPuma, yeah,
You
great
wrote a
producer.
book about it. You did a biography of him even before you wrote the Jew book. So what's the name of that book?
The Ballad of Tommy LaPuma. And Tommy LaPuma not only produced Miles Davis, but he produced Barbara Streisand, George Benson, lots of jazz musicians, Diana Krall, a great producer with a great backstory. Came out of Cleveland, and his father was a barber who was in the mafia, and it was great.
Whoa, wow. And this is a really weird disconnect because the name Cleveland has been mentioned more times in this episode of the show than has ever been mentioned.
I know. I'm big on Cleveland right now.
Yeah, I'm Do you have any great memories of being in a big, when you were in the Steve Miller Band for many years? There were sometimes disconnected years, but you come back, you go. Do you have any like real rock and roll road stories of being in a band with big hit singles and big, charting albums and stuff?
You're not gonna like it. I'm sorry, but it's the most boring thing in the world to be in a rock and roll band with big hit singles. Because what you do is you spend the day riding in a bus, you go to a gig, there are 20,000 people out in front of you, they're screaming, they're hollering, you're playing the same 12 stupid songs you've been playing all summer long. People can't hear you, nobody cares, you can't hear anything. You get back on the bus, you drive away. Like I said before, rock and roll is a pose. It's not a real thing.
I know, but you come off the stage, there wouldn't be like groupies who would make you happy or things like that, or
yeah, there are groupies and there are drugs and there are all those things, but you don't need to be in a rock and roll band to find them. I mean, they're everywhere. And being famous that way is really not the way you'd like to be famous. You don't want to be famous for doing some stupid repetitive thing. I mean,
that's every rock and roll song ever written.
Forgive me, I agree with you. And
whoa,
yeah, I like a lot of pop music. I love Prince. I agree with Charlie Watts. The Rolling Stones is not a great band. They're a great experience. They give great theater, but musically, a lot of times they're not together. That's okay. It's I can see I'm affecting you here, but it's the truth.
But then how do you explain? And with all due respect, most of the time I would rather listen to Exile on Main Street or Sticky Fingers than I would Sketches of Spain. Is it because there's so much, Sketches is so beyond me, or it says, why? Do I just crave the repetition? Am I not smart enough to get Miles going out there? Even I like Sketches of Spain.
I would say it's because of when you first heard that music, what it meant to you at that moment. And just like Van Morrison is trying to get back on the corner with his friends, we're all trying to get back to the moment when we first fell in love with something. And music, for people of our generation, whatever, was often not only connected to the first love, but the first love itself. Music meant so much to us. Now music doesn't mean that much. I mean, what is,
well, you know what? Maybe if you were 20 years old and you were talking to a 15-year-old, music would mean everything. It may be weird. We're talking like two old.
I know. So, for example, my granddaughter loves Billie Eilish, knows all her songs, sings her songs. So I started listening to Billie Eilish. I like Billie Eilish. Not bad, really not bad.
But and even in your own music, in the recent albums, you don't necessarily go out and do Sun Ra space jazz. I mean, you're doing recognizable, catchy songs that aren't jazzy, but pop. you're choosing to do that. You're not choosing to go and do,
No, of course, and that's the music I love. I love dance music. I love rhythm and blues music.
which is repetitious. Yeah.
Oh, I like repetition. No, what I don't like is the repetition of dumb. And here's what I mean. I'm out there with Steve Miller. Steve Miller has 3 chords, 4 chords. Okay. Uh, he's not a particularly interesting person. He's not.
Jesus. Okay. He's still alive, All right. And your friend, I assume you're friends.
Look, Keith and Mick are friends.
Yeah,
Keith says Mick has a small penis. He says it publicly. He said it. He said it.
okay. They're not really close friends.
Well, they are close friends. They're the fucking Rolling Stones. Okay, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
It's fine.
Okay, so
I'll bless you. It's okay. You can
Thank
use the language.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'm so sorry. Yeah, when I say the repetition of stupid, what I mean is so harmonically. The reason music is interesting to me, and I think to most people, whether they know it or not, is it's either interesting for harmonic reasons, melodic reasons, or rhythmic reasons. There's invention, there's creativity there. But with most pop songs, this is not true with Steely Dan, for example. They're fascinating. I love these people. It's not true with Prince. I mean, rhythmically, it's fantastic. It's not all true, but with a lot of the big records, big bands, there's a moment in each record that's so catchy and like an earworm that people fall in love with it, particularly in their youth. And it means a lot to them, and it becomes part of who they are, and they grow up loving it. But if you have to play that day after day, night after night, the same 3 notes, you get 3 notes. You don't get to take this note and put it on the bottom. You have to play the same 3 notes just like this every time.
Well, wait a minute. You know what? That's also on you because you're in the Steve Miller, not right now, but you were in the Steve Miller band, right? And you're a part and parcel, important component of this band. Couldn't you, at every concert's like 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours long if you have an intermission, couldn't you do 1 or 2 songs in there that, we're working on this one. This might be on the next album. Or we normally do the song this way, which is what Bob Dylan used to do all the time. We normally do it the way you hear it on the record. But tonight, we're going to fool around with it a little. Couldn't you and Steve agree to do that?
I could agree to do that. Steve cannot agree to do that. Because what happens when he wanders a little bit off script is he starts to lose the people's attention. The people want to hear the hits exactly the way they know the hits. And, when you're in front of the beast with 20,000 heads, you want to remain in control of the beast. It becomes very important to you to get on, be celebrated by the beast, and get off. And if you say, now we're going to play a nice little blues that, you can do it a little bit over here, maybe, but you can do it. But that's not who you are. That's not what you're doing. And the other thing about the experience, as I said, and this is just me, because I was the one when Steve said, hey, man, I'm out in San Francisco and you got to come out here and we're playing at the Fillmore. I said, no, I'm going to go to graduate school and make something of myself. What did I know? Right? I told Steve that he should make something of himself. Well, you're obviously giving me the latitude to express myself and reveal who I am. This is just me. This is not most people. This is me. I always wanted to have my last act, which I'm in now, clearly, be the best act. I wanted it to reveal a life of thinking and searching and trying to let the universe reveal itself to me in ways that didn't have a lot to do with what turned out to be success in the music business. So I did a lot of things in the music business that weren't smart from the point of view of success, but were very good for me personally. It got me to where I am today. So take my remarks with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not trying to be. Although I do take issue with your saying that this is the last act, because I expect you to live to 120. So therefore, you're only in your 70s. You're still sort of in the second act of the 3-act play that is your life, God
Your
willing.
mouth to God's ear. You should be so right.
I want to remind people to get the book. There Was a Fire. Jews, music, and the American dream.
Look at all the pictures. Look at the words. I got words here.
There's words in
Look at all the words. I got pictures. I got pictures. I got everything.
You can read them from right to left, like I do, because it's and also you can get the audio book that he reads himself. So you're going to want to do that too.
Yeah, this is good.
Find out all about Ben Sidran, BenSidran. BenSidran.com is a great place to go to find out about all these things, whether you can buy them at the site or not. You can sample his music, you can read about the book, you can see lots of pictures, read about his career. Last question for you, and by the way, it's just, you have been one of those fabulous guests we've ever had on this program. I mean, I'm honest to God, I am not, as Van Morrison or Miles Davis, the bullshit meter should not be going off, because you've just been really, really great.
Thank you.
But I want to ask, so you have all this life stuff that you took and that was helpful to you as a musician. Your son is also a musician. Did you have to shut your mouth and say, he's got to make his own way? Or were you always like, well, you pick up this instrument, but not that one, and get a degree? How did you approach it?
He was very young, 3, 4 years old. I would try to show him something on the piano. He would say to me, I know that. Right? You couldn't show him anything. But I was on tour all the time, and I would take him with me, and he'd go to somebody else, and they would show him. It was very clear. You can be the parent, you can be the teacher. I was going to be the parent. So as time went on, he just showed this inclination to love music and to be very creative in music and to compose music. And I mean, he was born with a gift, and he followed his gift, and it wasn't my choice for him, because it's a very difficult way to make a living, and especially today. We used to sell records, then we sold CDs. Now, what are you selling? We don't even know anymore.
Well, how does he? Is he a full-time? How does he do it?
He lives in Brooklyn. He's a composer and a performing musician, but he composes music for films and commercials. And commercials, I mean, he doesn't care. He loves being in the studio. He loves composing music. So he'll get a call from an advertising agency to write the music for a Chevrolet commercial. He's happy to do it, and he gets paid, and he pays his rent, and then he goes and does some crazy thing in Brooklyn with his pals. So
that's a life.
He's got a nice life. And the one thing I did do for him is I insisted he not study music in college, that he get a liberal arts degree of some kind. So he was a history major with a Spanish minor, and he went to Spain for a year. And the reason is simple, because if you're drawn to music and you have no other choice but to do music, you will find your way. But if you only know music, you will run out of things to think about and talk about and nourish your music with very quickly. This is why, as I said before, rock and roll musicians tend to be boring, because music got them late in high school. They got out there, they got famous, they did what they did. They wind up in their late 20s, their early 30s. That's it. There's no backstory. There's no subtext. And without that, what is life? I mean, being successful, having a fourth television doesn't do you any good when there's nothing to watch on even the first television, right? The things that buys you, that kind of success buys you, do not give you a reason to wake up in the morning. And so the one thing I did for my son is I insisted that he go and read books and have 4 years to not consider an occupation.
Wow.
And I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, it's quite sensible advice. Although I do have 4 small black and white televisions, so I can watch the Jewish cable channel all the time. And I want to see if it looks just slightly different out of phase from one to the other. It's kind of like a Harry Smith movie. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with the absolutely marvelous, talented Ben Sidran. One more time, get his book, There Was a Fire, Jews, Music, and the American Dream, his website, bensidran.com. It remains for me, first of all, to wish you a happy New Year
Happy New Year, Rabbi. Thank you.
and much more success, much more music, and please come back because you've just been absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Anytime. I got more grumpy stories than you can stand. Call anytime.
Oh, I can stand so many. Look at me. I can stand a lot of grumpy stories down your back. Shalom to you, Ben.
Hello, Rabbi.
Bye-bye now. Ben Sidran, my friends. Ben Sidran in the neighborhood. There we go. Don't report. Okay, there we go. Wow. I just feel so energized. And I remember, I'm an old Jew. I'm never energized. I feel so delighted and happy. Let's hear a little more Ben Sidran music before we bring Dave back in to finish this episode of the Dave's Gone By program. Let's hear him doing, something a little Asian, since we crossed the line of race many, many times on this episode. Here's Mitsubishi Boy. Eventually, there it goes.
They grow up outside in the gutter where the houses are old, the graves are carefully tended. In an ancient fields, they grow power lines and neon signs. The word Mitsubishi floats like freedom is. Smoke is rising from the fires where they burn their desires. They say anything not to be afraid. They grow up outside of Sapporo. Houses are new and the graves are carefully tended. They wear that mask, pump that gas, stand in line and drink that wine. Hang up the washing in the rain and drive along the line. And the smoke rises from the fires where they burn their desires. They say anything not to be a failure. A Mitsubishi boy. Mitsubishi boy.
Actually, I'm more of a Subaru kind of boy, but I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and you are watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream. It is our 816th episode. We're calling it Side by Sid, get it? In honor of really one of not that we haven't had great guests week after week who were fun, who were charming, who had great stories, but oh my God, the fun and the energy listening to Rabbi Sal with Ben Sidran in the neighborhood. Ben is now officially, of course, a friend of the neighborhood. These are people who have been on this program, whether it be recently in the past year or the past couple of years, or even going all the way back to the beginnings of the show. Anybody who's been on this program, we think of as friends and family. So we do a segment every week that we like to call Friends of the Neighborhood. Now let me see if I can get my music thing to work properly again. Let's see, a little bit of, let's go Mozart with this. So, of course, go to bensidran.com, get his books, find out about his music. Ben Sidran, now definitely, absolutely a great friend of the neighborhood. Very proud to have had him.
What great stories. He's worked with everybody across genre. Who hasn't he worked with? That's
why I want to get him back and tell more.
You should have an episode like once a month, a story with Ben or something.
If he'll do it.
Yeah. And then, like, he could take them and assemble them in another book.
And he's fearless. I mean, it's great when they get to an age. Well,
he's not fearless. He's just honest.
Well, yeah, no, but another person would not mention like someone that he worked with who's still alive and still recording.
I mean, I could see I'm like him. If it's a lie, don't say it. But why fear the truth?
Well, because imagine all these Broadway actors who had to deal with not
If people would have spoken out, this stuff wouldn't have gone on. So for me,
True.
like, as somebody who, I know many people who are, experienced all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
If somebody is the whistleblower, I mean, it's the truth. If somebody treats their fellow man, the fellow woman,
Well, fellow woman is kind of a
No, but,
contradiction in terms,
but
yeah.
I mean, the musicians, if they're treating them badly, they need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, if that to me, it's like.
No, but there's that open secret in the industry
He's
thing.
behind he shows you behind the backstage, right?
Yeah.
The fourth wall or whatever. He's taking you back.
But it's really cool. I mean, a lot of people will tell the bad stories but won't mention the names, which I understand.
I admire him.
Yeah, man. What a great,
admire him.
terrific. Ben Sidran, friend of the neighborhood. Let's talk some other friends in the neighborhood. First of all, of course, Leslie Hoban Blake, who played our Today Yesterday game, and whom you can watch as part of Critics Circle on on their YouTube channel. She co-hosts with our longtime friend Charles Gross, and they talk about
all the links in the. If you can't see not the chat in the comments.
Yeah.
I put Ben's website, his TED Talk. I put Leslie's MSN, and then the Critics Circle thing with the video that she just spoke about of the Book of Moron. I put only one of David's. He's got too many websites, so one of his.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I linked to.
Yeah.
Should I link to?
Link to davesgoneby.com.
I will. I'm going to put that in too.
And thank you for doing that. That's right. Robert Duback, the guy who is doing the Book of Moron off Broadway, he was a guest on this show a couple of weeks ago. He's also now a guest on Critics Circle with Leslie Hoban Blake and Charlie Gross. Go watch it at that YouTube page. And Joyce mentioned she posted David Shewar's websites on our feed. So it's The David Desk is his blog, culturaldaily.com, theaterlife.com to read his reviews of theater. And, okay, those are just the folks who've been on this program today. What about other friends of the neighborhood?
I said all Dave's Gone By episodes are at, and I put davesgoneby.com.
Thank you, babe.
And
davesgoneby.com. Just keep saying that. davesgoneby.com.
I call it DGB, like KGB, it's the DGB.
Now, let's see. What did I want to mention? I didn't say it last week, and I apologize for this. It's been more than a week. But a farewell to our friend of the neighborhood, Andy Probst, a theater critic that...
What happened?
Well, he died.
No, but I mean, do you know the circumstances?
Yeah, he had leukemia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So he was on the show more than 10 years ago.
Wow.
We weren't, close in our circle, but we certainly, knew each other. He was a theater critic. I was a theater critic. Smart guy. And if you go, again, that's the beauty of davesgoneby.com. If you go back to an episode many years ago and you look for Andy Probst, Propst, you can hear him talking about theater, the theater that he loved. So a big farewell to Andy Probst from the neighborhood. Letting you know that, and again, I'm not sure if he's doing this or if he stepped out of it, but Robert Coccioli, the actor, he was supposed to do an audio play for the Irish Repertory Theatre called Bike Man at irishrep.org that was playing through this weekend. I assume he still did it. I don't know if it's pre-recorded. I know that last week Robert Coccioli only lost his sister. I think we mentioned it.
Sorry, yes.
His sister Ayla. So maybe he's doing the Irish rep thing, maybe not. But
there might be an understudy now.
We still wish him the best.
Yeah.
Unless he recorded it, 2 weeks, and now they're playing. I don't know how they're doing it. So it's an audio play. And Edward Einhorn, Jesus, it's like this litany today. Edward Einhorn, who lost his, it was either his dad or his mom just a few months ago. But he has a new play, and it's called Alma Baya. They did it.
What language?
In
Alma
person.
Baya?
Well, he's Jewish, so I assume it's Yiddish or
Alma
Eastern.
Soul.
Alma Baya, Baya. Alma.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, please do.
I gotta look it up.
He did it. They did it in person. It looked really cool at ART New York. They taped it, and you can rent and watch the live stream today and tomorrow. So go find that ART New York. Edward Einhorn's play Alma Baya. Want to let you know that today, this afternoon, probably like right now, Daphne Rubin Vega is in Viva Broadway.
What language is it?
I don't know. It could be East Hungarian, Romanian,
It won't.
Alma, B-A-Y-A. Because Alma, even though Alma means soul in Spanish, Alma is like a Jewishy.
Yeah, but it
name.
won't detect the language and do it. It
Anyway.
says Alma Pay. It doesn't know. I don't know. It doesn't know. It can't fix the language.
Oh well. Well, why don't you just Google Alma Baya and see something about the show?
Names of stuff. Okay.
Well, anyway, definitely because this is like the big kickoff weekend for Broadway again, and they're doing it outdoors in Duffy Square. It's the curtain up kickoff. Yeah, Alma Baya in the play is
Yeah, it's a person, I think.
And so she's part of that. Remember the Tonys. Go figure. You remember them? The Tonys are happening next weekend. Who knew? So yeah, Viva Broadway though today.
In October.
Well, no, the Tonys. That was the thing. They wanted to time it. I'm sorry, what? No, it wouldn't be Urdu.
There are several meanings of each word in Urdu.
You do that Urdu so well. Hey, speaking of jazz, Leroy Reams. I'm sure he does. But Leroy Reams is in Remembering Jerry Herman. It's a York Theater presentation that he's doing on September 20th this week. Well, so what was that?
Alma means virgin?
Well, in Urdu?
In Hebrew. I don't know.
Oh.
I'll do Hebrew.
Yeah. I wouldn't know. I'm all these virgin jokes are running through my head, and I'm not sure I can find one. Oh well. But it's the York Theater at St. Jean's, because the York got flooded out a few months ago during the pandemic, so they had to find a temporary theater church that they could do their stuff in. So they're going to be at St. Jean's on East 76th Street Monday night for Leroy Reams Remembering Jerry Herman. And letting you know that later in the week, David Yazbek on the 23rd, the guy who did a bunch of Broadway musicals, including the lovely The Band's Visit. David Yazbek, he still does pop music with his band, and they're at 54 Below on the 23rd. And then playing now through September 25th, Eric Comstock and I believe Barbara Fasano, his wife, are together at Birdland doing some concert and song stuff, letting you know that now through October 6th at Hunter College, the last installment of Richard Nelson's play cycle about, I guess it's the Gabriels, is called What Happened. He did them.
See that, David.
I know. He did them at the Public Theater, then he did one that was online only, and now it's back in person with our friend J.O. Sanders in it, running now through October 8th at Hunter College. Also letting you know that now through January 9th, yes, Broadway is back. A couple of, one or two shows started at the end of August, then in September, and now September 14th was like the big day that more than almost a dozen Broadway shows reopened again. But Waitress is one of the more early ones. Waitress came back. It's at the Ethel Barrymore Theater and features Dakin Matthews, our actor friend, Dakin Matthews. Go see him in Waitress. Now, through, I don't know, when the next pandemic closes everything, Monday nights, Jim Caruso's cast party at Birdland. Also letting you know that my great, great friend Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com, a terrific website devoted to lifestyle and nightlife in Manhattan, StageBuddy.com. Please go there and check it out. And then also Bob Cudmore doing podcasts about upstate New York history at BobCudmore.com. And don't forget that Tony winner Andre DeShields is back on Broadway in his Tony-winning role in the excellent musical Hades Town. Go see my good friend Richard Shore was in town this past week and was one of the only shows playing, but he was very happy to go see it again. He apparently paid a pretty penny to go see Hades Town, depending on the day or night you go see it. I think you can get somewhat cheaper tickets than he did, I hope. But anywho, he was very happy to see Andre DeShields again and the whole show, Hades Town, on Broadway. And those, my friends, are the friends of the neighborhood. Yeah. biddly, 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 boo, tiggly, boo. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's just a little after 12:30 in the afternoon Eastern time here. It's Daver time. I think we should call it. It's Eastern, but since it's our own little island, our own country, our own universe in the Daverhood, we'll call it. It's 12:35 Dave time here in the Daver time. What do you think?
I like DT Dave time.
DT. I love it. I love it. 12:35 DT. So, before you get the DTs from watching too much of this program, well, I guess it just remains for us to again thank all our guests, David Sheward, Leslie O'Bang Blake, Bang Sidron. Thank you to Mark Gorney for setting up that interview. He's been such a great trove of getting such excellent guests for us recently, because he represents a lot of musicians. And so it was thanks to him that we have Moshe Denberg and Frank London we mentioned before, and now Ben Sidron. So terrific to have them. And Vicky Quaggy. Go, of course, if you're in Chicago, go see her and see, for now, Late Night Catechism, and then starting in October, Holy Ghost Bingo. Thank her very much for being in the Daverhood as well. Thank you to Rabbi Sal Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches. If you want to see that, if you missed some of the advice that he gave about fasting on Yom Kippur, because there was a lot of information he was giving very quickly, remember you can watch and read his rabbinical reflections at shalomdammit.com, shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. That's also the place where you can see that episodes of the TV show that he did years ago, also his one-man show, when it was first done at the Richmond Shepherd Theater many, many years back. It's a different show now. A lot of it is different, but go see the original version. It's pretty great. I was watching parts of it just a few days ago, and I'd forgotten just how damn funny it is. It's real good. I'm a little biased. I'm close friends with Rabbi Saul, but there you go. So, Han, is there anything else we have to, have we covered? Have we done?
Was an upset in the quiz where David resumed his rightful place as the quiz.
That's right, David Sheward, quiz today, yesterday, quiz winner. Yeah, I think we're, I don't know, I feel somehow that we're forgetting something. Something with 5 lines in it. Something that has meter and rhythm and rhymes a little bit. No. Something Scottish in a strange way. What am I? Oh, well, maybe I'll remember next week. We'll just end the... Of course old Dave didn't forget. Of course I know that it's time for the Colorado Limerick of the Damned. This is where every week I pluck out of the horrific recesses of my brain a short poem about somewhere in Colorado. So, yeah, we've done dozens and dozens of these. I go on a map, I go on just lists of towns in Colorado, and this brain starts raking through the ooze to come up with 5 unbelievably offensive, disgusting lines about somewhere in Colorado. So get the kids out of the room. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, this is not for the kids. So I'll give you a little time, because we're going to Loch Buoy, Colorado. Honest to gosh. There's a place named after a Scottish place in Colorado called Loch Buoy, and I'm going to tell you all about it.
You're the poetry man. A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain, Colorado,
Colorado, Rado. So all these years living in Colorado just kind of got me writing poems about it. Now, John Denver would write certain kinds of songs about living in Colorado. Aspen and Rocky Mountain High. We hit Rocky Mountain lows on our Colorado Limericks of the Damned. Just a warning there. Loch Buoy, Colorado, is a statutory town that's near Brighton. It's part of actually Weld and Adams County, which is kind of amazing. We were actually driving distance, really easy driving distance from Loch Buoy out in Greeley. It's 1.5 square miles with about 2,000 people on it, so it's not so tiny. It is named after a Scottish town. I guess Loch, isn't Loch earth or ground?
You said 1.5 square miles?
Yeah, 1.5 square miles. It's not huge.
It's tiny.
Yeah, you can drive the whole thing.
1 mile?
Yeah, but again, it's a square mile. So everything in there is 2,000 people. It started, this is great, it actually started as Spacious Living Mobile Home Park in the 1960s. So it's a relatively recent enclave, a little town in northern Colorado. Common activities in Loch Buoy include a craft fair, a community appreciation day, and every so often, of course, a tornado siren test. So, yeah, Loch Buoy, Colorado. Ladies and gentlemen, hold your ears and your noses, literally on this one. It's time for our Colorado Limerick of the damned. The twat of a tramp from Loch Buoy. Yes, let me, before the noises, save the noises for the finale. The twat of a tramp from Loch Buoy was deep but disgusting and gluey. She used it quite well, but Jesus, the smell could make even dead men go phooey. That's our Colorado Limerick of the damned. For the Joyce, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate this particular Colorado Limerick?
Awful.
Awful. Well, actually, you should say it stinks. That would be even more kind of appropriate. Send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com. Daves, like my name, Daves, gone by, by, davesgoneby@aol.com. I do try and read every email that I get, even if I can't answer them all. You're also welcome, please, to post your messages on my Facebook page or message me directly if you are a friend on Facebook, as opposed to a friend of the neighborhood. So yes, I'd love to hear from you, your suggestions. I don't love to hear your complaints, but I'll read them. And what else? Oh, and follow my Twitter, Radio Dave 2, Radio Dave, the number 2. But most importantly, go to davesgoneby.com to keep apprised of what will be happening on the program, to hear all our archives, literally thousands of hours of audio and now video material. It's all right there for you. It's all organized. It's searchable. So if you want to hear the interview that we did with Richard Davis, the bass player, a couple of years back, it's there. If you want to hear who's the guy, the pianist who plays with the Rolling Stones and has been since they've been on tour for like 20, 30 years. I'm so sorry I'm forgetting his name. I was going to bring him up when Rabbi Saul was talking to Ben Sidran. But he's, forgive me, he's a terrific studio musician. But anyway, if you want to try and find him, go on davesgoneby.com. You can also hear interviews with other musicians like Charlie McCoy, and Judy Collins has been on the program, and Janice Ian, and Loudon Wainwright III, and on, and Matthew Sweet. And one of my other favorite interviews that we've ever done, Robin Hitchcock, was on the show a few years ago. I mean, just amazing stuff. And it's all there for you. davesgoneby.com. Well, my friends, I guess it remains finally for me now to wish you most happy holidays, most happy New Year. I will expect that we will see you next Saturday. It will be, what is it, the 25th, I think? 19th?
Today is the 18th plus 7 is true 5, yes.
Saturday, September 25th, 2021, for the 817th episode of I know, right?
It's amazing.
Of Dave's Gone By with me. We're rapidly approaching our 20th anniversary episode. It's insane. It just bugs me that the 20th anniversary episode is actually the end of the 19th year, as opposed to like 20 full years in the can. That's always bugged me, but that's on me. Have a wonderful week. Go get yourself some Ben Sidran music and his books about Tommy LaPuma and also about Jews in music. Check him out, bensidran.com. Han, any last Last advice, last words for our peeps.
Have a great weekend. Hope everyone has a good weekend.
Have a fantastic week and gone by. Oh, I blew it. I ended it so well. Let's segue that one more time. And gone by.
Days gone by. Days gone by. Days gone by. Days gone by. Days gone by.
It's kind of jazzy. I'll take it.